first flight of the orbital Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower. Discovery's core computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Hey everyone. All right, so it is our first Takeover Tuesday. We do have BossBlunts and Jackson Hunter somewhere sometime. Doing our
Yeah,
first official takeover of the BullHouse, which I am so excited about because this is kind of what I really wanted BullHouse to be, was community driven, right? And so that's, bringing on the brains because BossBlunt, my God, you have been just nonstop. Have you slept?
not much. Not much. The wife hasn't exactly been too happy with me lately, but it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's you're where I was a few months ago. My husband was yelling at me not because I wasn't sleeping. So I
Yeah.
was thinking I was getting like 3 hours of sleep, maybe driving into a lot of stuff. So I finally have calmed down and started sleeping again. So but no, you are like the stuff you've been covering, like I found it's actually really funny. Um I think it was like a month and a half or so ago you posted something up on Reddit, and I was like, "Who is this dude?" It's like BossBlunts. That's a funny name. And then like you blew up on Twitter. Everyone did it, and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Guys, look at this broad market stuff," because no one's been really doing broad market, so you it really caught my attention. Of course. And so I was like, "Hey guys, look at this! Holy crap!" Um, And so then you just kind of exploded and you've been nonstop. So, I mean, if you want to start running down some of the stuff that you have been doing or anything that you want to talk about, the floor is yours and I will try to hunt down Jackson.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, Ken, I appreciate it. A few months ago, when I started this play, it was all greedy. I was just in it for the money, doing what I do. Trying to make some good money on the stock market and the squeeze play, and then things just started to kind of take off. And before I know it, we have all sorts of manipulation and things that are illegal, nefarious things that are happening in these stocks, and I can't even keep my mouth shut about it anymore. And what the kicker was for me was the fact that just how bad the truths behind our economy and the stock market and the real estate market are they're just not good. They're actually extremely bad. And being like such a positive person, I hate talking about this kind of stuff because the negativity kills me. Like I really, really hate it. But I feel like it's one of those things that's really important to talk about because, for example, people like my mother, who's 65 years old and, she's been saving up her 401k her entire life. She had no idea that this was going on, and I liquidated her 401k about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, or something like that, just because of everything that's happening. Because I'm aware of the times, and the S&P and the Nasdaq can be reaching all-time highs for all I fucking care. But that really, at the end of the day, doesn't mean anything if you're gaining zero point 0.1 or 0.2% gains to take the chance of losing a third or more of all of your life savings because of some poorly timed market crash or correction. I just didn't want people to get blindsided. So I started putting out the due diligence that I've been coming across in these federal reports, because other than like Congress, nobody fucking reads them, and the people that do are not going to go out and tell regular folks like us what's inside of them, because why would they want to empower us? We are dumb money. We are just there to provide income and to be bag holders at the end of the day when they decide to play their games and liquidate themselves, their positions when this is all over. There's something called the Schiller PE ratio, which is also called the CAPE PE ratio. It's basically a way that gauges the market when it's oversold or overbought, for example. And we're at a level now that we have only seen once before in history, and that was right before the 2000 dot-com bubble. We're at about a 39 and change on the Schiller PE ratio scale. And again, like I said, way back in 1929 during the Great Depression, we were only at about a 28 on that scale. So we have eclipsed that, by an entire third at this point. So it's not looking good. Let's put it that way. And this is something, the Schiller PE ratio is something that's used by, large companies and corporations to gauge either individual companies or entire sectors of the market, like the S&P. It's just one of many signals that continues to blow up and be right there in our face. And a lot of people just refuse to acknowledge it because of how hard it is to discuss and how shitty the future looks when you start talking about these things. And I'm sorry again. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not a negative person, so to bring this up, it's kind of shitty. It's kind of shitty to be that guy, to be, oh, look, like our economy is going to tank, our stock market's going to tank, the U.S. Treasury can't pay its fucking bills, and so on and so on. But these are the realities of the times that we're in. And so it's a damn shame. So I just figured, like, people got to know what's going on. And that's really what made me start posting on Reddit and Twitter. And I just, as you guys can see from my account, I just joined Twitter in June. Yeah, because it's one of the best ways to get connected with people and to reach out and to share information. The due diligence on Twitter and Reddit have just been, outstanding. Mostly on Twitter. Reddit has a lot of shills, but what are you going to do, right?
So I think what's interesting is that you and I kind of had the same um, idea at almost the same time, because I started doing that's actually when I did my history repeating itself post.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was talking about the PE ratios and just, I mean, everything you're talking about. Like, I think you and I were on the same like brain wavelength for some weird reason, because it was like I started seeing pattern that 100-year, 80-year cyclical event pattern, and I was like, okay, we really got to dive into this, and started looking at the chart analysis and historical Dow, Nasdaq, S&P, you name it. I was looking at it going, oh my God, there's too many coincidences here. We're in some deep crap. So no, I'm loving this. Please keep going.
Yeah. No, I hate to say it, but that's well, great minds think alike. Let's start off there, and it doesn't take much of a stretch because we're not stretching anything here. We're just looking at the realities of how overbought the S&P really is. How poorly propped up our stock market is at the moment. And it's not something that you or I are come up with. It's just things that economists have. 85% of economists expect to see a huge market correction, well over 10% from over 120 that were polled. I can't remember the exact source on that, but I'm sure Google would pop that up in a split second. But regardless of that, we are entering the beginnings of a complete reversal of what has occurred from the Great Depression and the 100-year bull market that we've seen till today. So that's really where the scariness begins, and it's not going to be like a slow turnaround. The fact that we've got everything going on with the eviction moratorium, real estate market, banks over leveraging, inflation, unemployment, and we'll get into more details later. But all those things kind of combined are culminating into the very beginning and an extremely fast turnaround from the strongest bull market we've had, that we've had, for these last 90 something years. And it will become a 100-year bear market of economic downturn. And, for the world, is what a lot of people don't understand. They think that I'm just talking about America and China's going to take over and things like that. But they don't realize that it's a complete economic problem, and it's something that we can totally discuss based off some of the links that I sent your way. Because this is something that's rampant in Europe. The banks are over leveraging and getting margin called in Europe. The same thing's happening in China. We're seeing it here in the States. You guys are seeing Wells Fargo pulling personal loans and then making a slight reversal on that and allowing some people to maintain their personal loans because of the backlash that they received. Same thing with Bank of America selling off billions of dollars in securities last month. What is it? It's liquidity requirements. Margin calls are coming. They're aware of these phase 5 requirements that we're in. And as of October 1st, these banks are going to be required to hold $1 trillion apiece by the Federal Reserve. It's going to be one of the new phase 5 requirements for the largest commercial banks. So that $1 trillion apiece is really something staggering. And that's an astronomical number that we're going to see in each bank. And even still, though the Federal Reserve is stress testing these banks every single day, they're not sure how it's going to occur. They're running computer simulations all day, every day, to see how this changing events and the over leveraging of these banks and the margin calls that are going to occur are going to affect the stock market. And it's not so much as a controlled event. It's so much as a little bit more of like a controlled chaos. It's an inevitability that's bound to occur, whether it happens today, next week, or in 3 months. But it's at a point where a tipping point that the equilibrium is turned so far out of the favor of the banks that it's almost completely unstoppable at this point. And it's going to lead us to a fantastic margin call, and in my opinion, the mother of all short squeezes. And nobody knows what's really going to happen. Nobody knows when it will occur, but based off some of the things that we've touched on, I think that our best chance that I've ever seen is right here around the corner. Best chance for the MOAS in the immediate future. So yeah, that's my take on the situation right there.
Oh yeah, because and that's something that because I feel like Chicken Little most days. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Whatever. But at the end of the day, like I'm like you, right? Is I don't want people blindsided. Oh wait, blindsided so many people because no one was talking about it. Nobody was pointing this stuff
Nobody
out,
had any idea.
and so I'm with you on that. Is just get the word out, and if we're wrong, worst case scenario, you're prepared, right? That's the worst case scenario that comes off if we're wrong, and what we see, that okay. So because like boss, whatever I say is land, food, and shelter, right? And water, land with fresh water rights so that you can grow food and then have a house. Those are the basic necessities that you need. And so the worst thing that happens is that you have your human basics. That's the worst case scenario. If they're wrong and everything goes to all hell and no one's prepared, that's a whole nother story. Like that's, oh God, I don't know. But I would rather, I hope we're wrong. I don't know if that's how you are, boss, but I hope I'm wrong with what I see.
Absolutely. I've said this so many times. Like I said it like the first time I was on Jackson's and like multiple times since then. As I hope to be wrong. So many people have been like, "Oh yeah, right. The government's never defaulted on the debt before." You're right, they haven't. And there's a first fucking time for everything.
There is a first time. Which link? Okay, so I have your 4 links that you sent me. Which one do you want me to?
We can take it from the top. Let's go with Evergrande because Evergrande over in China is facing one of the absolute worst margin calls that's been seen in a long time, and
Yeah,
you can open these links. I don't know if you want to share it or anything like that or pop it up top.
they're I was gonna say I have them up on YouTube, guys. If you want to look there,
Oh,
or
that's
I don't
cool.
know if you've tweeted them out or anything. I'm sure I know.
Uh,
I think you have a few times.
don't know. I didn't know if I could send it from a message. I've actually never tried that, but no, I have not.
No, you
I've
have
not.
to tweet it out, and then we can put it up in the nest if you'd rather do it that way.
Why not? Yeah, I got it right here. Actually, just click tweet one.
Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, because their share price for Evergrande fell 8%. Yes, Tuesday for them in China, and it's just one small example. Because and that happened because their bonds are complete junk at this point. One thing.
What is it at this point?
Oh, I'm about to get there.
Let's be real. Let's be real. What in the market and globally isn't just
Complete
garbage? Like, I
trash.
mean, it.
Yeah.
one big dumpster fire after another, and they're like it is literally the meme of the dog in the burning barn. It's like, it's fine,
Yeah,
don't worry.
and they're at it fell so much. Evergrande's share stock price is right around the same price it was at back in 2009 when they initially, IPO'd.
Oh my
That's how
God.
bad it is. Like they are at the same place they were, 12, 13 years ago when they started the fucking IPO. Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible for one of the, they're one of the biggest investment firms in China, and their stock has plummeted 76% this year. And their dollar bonds for the yuan that these guys hold, they're 30 cents on the dollar. 30 cents on the dollar. And people don't think that treasury bonds and yields in the United States can go negative. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, no, it's like that. I don't know if you saw my tweet that went out probably about last week. It was serious. It was, the government going, there will be no inflation.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll
right.
have a little bit inflation. Okay, inflation might be kind of bad. And it's like, you think? Do you
Yeah.
actually you think this? Because I feel like I've been calling this out for a little bit. Like I was hopeful in the beginning. I was hopeful in the beginning of the year that things would go back to normal. Stupid me. Just stupid me. Because I was like, no, 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 hyperinflation, it won't be a thing. No, we as a country cannot handle hyperinflation after coming down from COVID.
Yeah, absolutely right. And they're trying to print money to get us out of it. And printing money is just making
Doesn't
more hyperinflation because printing money by itself doesn't create hyperinflation. But when you
no.
have enough, for example, my buddy Francisco over here with the guy with the tiger, he's an economist and he's got a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in economics. And that's what he does for his everyday life. He's shown me and explained to me something that I kind of already knew, but he reiterated through his professionalism that with just printing of money by itself isn't going to create hyperinflation. But when you compile that with the extremely the extremely low supply and high demand of goods on our grocery store shelves, that's when hyperinflation starts to come into play. I'm not saying that we're going to be as bad as Venezuela, paying $10,000 for a gallon of milk, but I am saying that things are going to get much, much worse before they get better. And people have seen it with their, rising gas prices are, in many places, for example, here in Chicago, around $4 a gallon. LA, I'm sure they're around 5. New York, the same. And, in the rural parts of the country, it's probably a little bit less expensive, naturally. Then you've got, certain items in your grocery store, bread, for example, back in 1970 was 25 cents a loaf, and it's $3 a piece. Cars have gone up 47% increase, almost half. I bought a car a year and a half ago, and I get a truck a year and a half ago, and I could sell it for more now than I did when I fucking bought it, and I put 10,000 miles on it. Like that, these are the absurdities that are happening because there's precious metal shortages, chip shortages. New car companies like Ford are having customers wait 4 weeks, 8 weeks to get their vehicle. They have to pre-order it, and the lots are empty. So new vehicle sales have slowed significantly. Imports and exports are slowing because of this. Supply and demand is taking a huge hit because of this. Used vehicle prices are skyrocketing because many people that have lost their jobs or don't have a commit a strict employment, W-2 job, are not able to qualify for a car or a home or another apartment. Especially the people that are getting hurt by the eviction moratorium, because when you apply for eviction moratorium relief, that shit stays on your record for 7 years. And if you have a bankruptcy because your employees, I mean, your people, that are renting from you, your tenants, are not able to continue to pay you, you're going to go bankrupt as well. And that's 7 years of garbage on your record as well. So the supply and demand chains issues stem a lot more from the people here in America and worldwide being either too sick or unwilling to work. There's a situation occurring where what the stimulus package did, it actually encouraged Americans to stay home, and the eviction moratorium encouraged them not to pay their rent. So a lot of people were not at work. A lot less drivers, a lot less office workers, manufacturing people, distribution people, even hairstylists and people working at your local bank or fast food joint. You've seen the signs out front. How many? I don't even have to ask, get an answer from you guys. How many of you guys have taken your kids to school and seen a big school bus parked out front that says school bus drivers needed? How many? I'm sure
Oh God,
everyone.
that's a lot of places. I mean, granted, I don't my kid's not in school yet, but no, we've seen it around.
Yeah, it's an example of like everywhere you go. You go to McDonald's, whatever. You take your kids to school, you see this, the buses are parked out front with a giant banner on them with them looking for work because they're so desperate. And companies can only afford to pay so much. People think, oh, just pay more, just pay more. They can't pay as much as to offset the cost, the amount of money that people were getting from the stimulus that was allowing them to stay home. Why are they going to come to work for $21 not $20 an hour if they can stay home and make 19? The economics aren't there, and the government knows this. That they're aware of this, and that's why they've allowed the stimulus to continue for so long. They've done it under the guise of helping Americans and helping the economy, but in reality, it's destroyed our supply chain to the point where there's not enough truck drivers to get our shipments from point A to point B. I own a logistics and distribution company, and I will tell you that finding a reefer in Greenville, South Carolina is damn near impossible. And that's just one out of many, many examples I can give you. Because of everything going on with the hurricanes, in the last few months, we didn't move a single FEMA load until last week. Last week, I think we moved 12 or 13 FEMA loads, and it's going to continue this week. And that's all being spent by money that the U.S. Treasury doesn't have to spend. So we're in a really tight situation here. And then there's not enough truck drivers. There's not enough forklift drivers to load these guys. There's not enough office workers to man the positions and the paper pushing positions that are required inside to get the shipments aligned, both in warehouses and rail yards, ocean ports, manufacturers and airlines around the country. So you're seeing huge amounts of delays in freight, both coming from overseas via ocean and via airplane as well. So everything that's running in our country, whether it's coming in off a steamship line, whether it's an ocean container that's already grounded at a rail yard that's moving on a train, or whether it's something that's being produced here locally, homegrown, or coming in off a flight from somewhere overseas, it is all being significantly delayed, taxed, and storage fees are being incurred left and right. And it's not something that's going to subside anytime soon. It's going to continue to get worse before it gets much better. So when you combine the supply chain issues with the lack of people working, with unemployment being at such high levels, many people getting sick or having immune system issues, the eviction moratorium, the inflation that we're seeing, and the printing of money that's occurring, it's creating a system of not a system. It's creating a level of hyperinflation where, if you ask me, the government's most recent report of 6.1% CPE, Consumer Price Index, CPI, it is a bunch of bullshit. There's no way that inflation is only at a 6.1% rate, and they're saying that for the last 3 months we've been at about 5.4%, and the last time we had 4 months in a row of inflation where it is right now was in 2008, immediately before the 2008 market crash, and we are in a worse position now than we ever were at that time as a country for many reasons.
Well, and I don't know if you actually knew this one. We found it a few months ago that the CPI equation, the factors that they put into it, changes every year.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that?
They change it to make they supposedly quote unquote adjust for inflation, but they're full of shit because it's all supposed to be gauging inflation, and for them to change the numbers is more like saying that they changed the rules. They're just trying to make it look as good as they can to prevent a widespread panic, and that's the real fucked up situation.
Well, I mean, like last year, they might have used, certain consumer goods and different, cars and different things like that to gauge CPI. And that
Yep.
was not even the same as this year. They're like, oh no, we're going to pick and choose. We're going to cherry pick information and so that our CPI actually looks decent. Like,
yeah. Like they're using they're not using, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but they're not, instead of using the, 40% increase in used cars, like you said, they're switching it over to adjust for inflation in other ways and calculating it using something that's a lot less aggressive. For example, the cost of, manufactured goods here locally, domestically, which naturally with lower interest, lower demand is going to have a lower price and a lower inflation. So they're literally skewing the numbers every way they can.
Yeah, it's so messed up. I hate it. Jackson is finally in the house.
Jackson, what's up, brother?
I have invited him to speak, so once he kind of wakes back up and figures out which way is up, um, I'm sure he'll come join us. But no, it's interesting to see for sure. Like definitely, like why are they skewing the numbers, right? Like what would be the purpose for that? And I
Yeah.
it's just baffling. It's just so baffling. Hey Jackson, welcome.
Hey, I'm so sorry about that. Thank you so much.
Yo, it's all good, dude.
What do you have for us? Boss is one tab through all of his stuff.
I know, right? Let me just finish up real quick, and I just wanted to say that the cash coverage from Evergrande over in China, their short-term borrowings, in the first half went from 36 to 47%. So that's basically reverse repurchase program. Okay. So this bank, Evergrande, was putting almost half of all of its money in the RRP over in China before they were, before this all occurred. And at this point, it's been basically a margin call. They're literally selling homes at huge discounts, and they're like a real estate investment firm, and they have literally reduced their average price of a home sale by 12% in August. And this is in China. So, and that's even lower than what they had. Their contracted sales are down 26% from a year prior to that. So they had 26% stronger sales last year during COVID than they do now through their property management firm through Evergrande, which is one of their biggest pieces of business. So that kind of gives you an idea of how bad the economy is globally, as well as the bond market and the margin and calls and liquidity situation worldwide, because it's an extremely global problem that's going to affect everybody negatively. And the United States is just trying to come out on top, but we'll save the rest for later. Let's get on to a little bit more fun shit with Jackson and hit some TA or something, because I don't want to.
Before Jackson, I did have one question from Jake for you, boss.
Sure.
And it's about Evergrande. Looking at historical volume, and it is insignificant. Highest volume is in its trading history was 21,000. All-time high was $4.05. Why is Evergrande significant? Is my question. Sorry, I'm seeing top volume at 581,000 on February 22nd, 2013, with the price around the current level. Significant price movement occurred in 2017. So I'm not, I guess, I mean, you kind of answered why it's significant, but if you want to.
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. Why that's important is because Evergrande is one of the biggest investment, firms and banks that deals with real estate in China. Okay. And they're actually, so even though the majority of their price fell, back in 2019, they gained the majority of it back in 2020, and they were almost close, around $28 a share. So in the period of, middle of 2020 to today, they've lost hundreds of, percent, or 73% or so, whatever the statistics was that I gave a little bit earlier, 76% this year. So they did lose a huge amount all at once. And that's kind of signifying, and that's based off the Hong Kong dollar, not American dollars. All right. So that's kind of where things are a little different as well. But they're a huge, significant, bank in Hong Kong, and they have a lot of investors that are going to take a serious hit. And a lot of those people are just smaller companies. The majority of the investors in Evergrande are like pools of money. And these pools of money come from people that have a lot and people that don't have a lot. So, it's going to affect people in China and nation, and kind of globally, and especially in that region in a negative way. And through, like the butterfly effect, it's going to impact us, because nothing that happens in China doesn't come back to kick us in the ass, and vice versa. So it is extremely, extremely important. And they were just downgraded. Their credit was already in the C. Excuse me. I think they're now like triple C negative, CCC minus, basically a C minus. That's about as good as it gets. They're expected to default, in my opinion, anytime here in the next few weeks. And they have $7.4 billion of bonds that are coming due, that are maturing in the beginning of 2022 in January. So it kind of speaks to a huge banking crash for China and Hong Kong. It's really worse. It's more than we can actually imagine and comprehend because it's kind of a global impact, and we'll just leave it at that.
Oh, thank you. That's I haven't even heard of Evergrande, so I'm gonna have to look into this. Maybe I'll just pick your brain since you know everything about it.
No, they're
um,
just another bank, but it's like there's so many of these, big banks that when one starts falling off, it's going to be the domino effect. It's going to happen to the next and the next. And these guys own so much real estate that it's going to leave a huge portfolio of real estate that's probably going to get taken over by the Chinese government, for example. So, are you guys seeing how places like BlackRock can come up and buy
oh
50,000 homes
yes,
last month, or China can start taking real estate assets from Evergrande and then start renting it
yep.
out? And now they don't have to ever worry about paying that back or worry about the taxes. They're paying using taxpayer money to pay those property management fees and those taxes on that home. So for them, this is a 100-year investment.
That's yeah, and that's actually kind of scary, honestly.
Yeah.
No
I mean,
shit.
it's
Yeah, no, we've talked about
that's
that a
ridiculous.
lot, and that's really scary. I mean, just the amount of assets they have, and considering what they could do, over that type period of time. Essentially making home ownership for a significant amount of people impossible. Um, I don't know. It might be coming, but yeah, it's scary.
You will own nothing and you'll be happy, right? It keeps resonating. That
Yeah.
stupid phrase is everywhere now, and it drives me nuts. But we'll digress from that.
But if people are picking up on that, isn't it with good reason? Because it's not just coincidental that everyone's feeling the same shit. That what's going on? Does inflation seem transitory? No. And is the situation at hand with these banks transitory? Absolutely fucking not.
No, no. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I mean, come on.
Yep.
It's a goat. That's what they tell us. It's a goat. So Jackson, let's get into your TA for now.
For sure. Thank you so much, guys. Marcel is a pleasure to listen to. You guys should subscribe to him on YouTube. BossBlunts, Marcel Kalinovic. But I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I don't even like to talk about technical analysis that much anymore. I kind of shifted over the last week because it doesn't mean anything to me personally. So I believe we are running in running in cycles with AMC and GME. A lot of my thoughts align with Cryan's The Theory of Everything that he posted, or she, I don't even know, the past couple of weeks. And I really believe that's what's going on, the total return equity swaps, because if you look at the short interest for GME, it was 226% January 15th of this year. Now, if you look at it, what is it, 15, 16%? So they took that short interest and they hid it in the portfolio swaps and other means as well, in the out of the money, deep out of the money puts and in the money calls. And so it's all hidden, right? And that's why for so long, I I didn't even look at Ortex data. I didn't even care about it. I mean, their company would personally reach out to me, and I still had no interest in it, right? Because it wasn't real. It wasn't reflecting what was going on. But there's so much news that could positively affect AMC and GME. And my guy AMC Biggums is in here, man. I freaking love Biggums so much, and he's been talking about this on
Yep.
his channel. So it's gigantic. The cat system that started last Wednesday is gigantic. ISDA phase 5 started the same day. Now you might not see results for that for a week or two, but this green price action the AMC has had the past couple of days, it could be indicative of these regulations actually working, which is pretty wild because we've been in this for 8 months, and the SEC and all these regulatory bodies, they say they're going to do this, say they're going to do that, and then you don't really see a change on the charts, right? And so talk is cheap, right? Talk is cheap, and not just in stocks, but in every aspect of life, especially like when I say I'm going to come on the call at 7 p.m. and then I just sleep through it and wake up at 7:20. I apologize again. But there's so many regulations that could really positively impact GME and AMC The CAT system is the phase 5. So is the phase 5 real quick? I think a lot of people know it increases the minimum requirement from 10 grand to $250,000 per market participant per account that they have, right? That's gigantic. That's a 25x for margin requirements. And then it also, and then um, the CAT system will tag every single transaction that happens on the stock market. So supposedly you won't be able to have so many synthetic shares. Okay, so it's like a tracking system. It's called the Consolidated Audit Trail System. And just to put ISDA phase 5 into perspective, ISDA phase 4 happened September 1st, 2019, so 2 years ago. And there were only Bigums could probably quote it better, but there were like only 19 participants that had to show margin requirements because the threshold was 3/4 of a $1 trillion. You had to be working with that much cash, and there were only so many participants. Now the threshold is 50 billion, I believe, and so there's over 300 participants that now have to meet margin requirements that didn't have to in the past. And I'm sure Marcel was talking about it when I was snoozing, but like everybody is over leveraged, everybody is borrowing money, and a lot of them didn't even have any intentions of paying it back. Some of them just got caught in a bad bet. But in any case, a debt has to be settled one way or another, and I read this wonderful article the other day. It was on the marketrealist.com, and they were talking about how the US has never defaulted on their debt. Like, think about that. The US has been around since 1776, never once defaulted on their national debt, and it's like $28 trillion. And there's an actual possibility that that could happen. And so I talked about it in my video last week if you guys want to go more in depth on it. But that is just like insane, and like the lack of accountability that the people that the 1% have, like they make these irresponsible decisions. And the sad thing is, people talk about trickle down theory. Well, their irresponsible actions trickle down to us, not their fucking money. Like, I'm sorry if people don't like cursing. I'm a real person. I like to curse a lot. But
Keep it real.
that's what trickles down. Their irresponsible actions, the consequences of those trickle down to the 99%. Like, just look at the graphs, dude. I retweeted Edward Snowden last night from last night. From one of the things he posted last night was how the margin inequality has just grown since, and it started in 1970. There's a really cool website called WTF happened in 1971. I implore you guys to check it out. And it's the reason why there is no middle class. Like, that's not just a joke that I say in my videos to get people to watch it. There is no middle class. You're upper or you're lower class. It's just reflected in the statistics. So I just want the little guy to win. I think AMC and GME is the best chance that the little guy has ever had to win. And if you come from nothing, if you live paycheck to paycheck, I will be clapping a little bit harder for those guys when they win. I'm just gonna be straight up. If you already have like millions of dollars, you're already well off, not worried about money, I'm still gonna clap for you. But at the same time, I want the playing field to be leveled out more. And and two other regulations, NSCC 2021-010, that came into effect last Friday. NSCC 2021-005 was delayed until I believe mid-November, maybe late, I think middle of November. And the 005 is talking about a controlled market crash. So a lot of people misinterpreted that when they put it out. They're like, does that mean it's going to be a controlled squeeze? Like, I don't want that. And no, that's not what it is. It was going to be a controlled market crash so that when AMC and GME fly super high, and nobody knows how high they're going to go or when it's going to pop off, but it's going to be controlled, and so hopefully it won't destroy the entire market. But Marcel has much better expertise on that than I do. But just the fact that they're putting that regulation into place, it tells you there is going to be well, not so much anymore because the cat's out of the bag, a black swan event. It's going to be black swan to your general population, to group think, right? But to the apes, to the however many 5 million apes on the planet, this is not going to be a surprise. Like, I've said this for months now, when I see AMC hit four figures, possibly five, six, seven, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to be like, I mean, sure, I'll be excited, but in all honesty, I'm expecting that to happen. So like, I am analogize this to when you're playing in the MLB against Randy Johnson and you step up to the plate against him, you're not surprised that he throws a 101-mile-an-hour fastball at you. You expect that. You don't expect him to throw a 55-mile-an-hour like fastball. Like that's just, I'm expecting a certain thing. Okay, so like people on Twitter will be like, well, I don't know how it can go that high. I don't know how it can't. From everything that I've seen, when a stock is shorted, likely allegedly multiple times the float, are you kidding? You basically turn it into a name your price scenario, and it's like it's like imagine, and God forbid, even though I'm atheist, that everybody had a super bad like a deadly illness, right? And you were the only person on the planet that had the cure for it. How much would those people pay for it? They would pay an inordinate amount of money. And that's what you have going on with this supply and demand for AMC. I mean, there should only be about a half a billion shares for AMC. In all likelihood, there's minimum 3 billion up to a stupid amount. GME, same thing. There are so many shares that should not actually be out there. But with this CAT system, they're going to be actually tracking them. And so they can't just run up the FTDs and then hide them using sham resets. They actually have to account for them. Okay, so like, and I was talking to a homie the other day, like why we're in this mess is because the option writers, a lot of them are based in Chicago. If people don't know that, they were writing these calls on AMC and GME, and they never thought in a million years AMC and GME would go that high. And so they didn't think that people would exercise and they would have to deliver those shares. Well, guess what? It went that fucking high. And so like I exercised two of my calls a few months ago, and that's how I got a decent amount of shares out of it. And I don't even think that I own real shares, but it doesn't matter because they weren't accounting for my shares to be in the money. And so it's this huge problem of like, um, there's only supposed to be half a billion. There's likely 3 billion. You shorted that many. You have to buy all those back. A short seller is just a buyer that hasn't bought yet. I'm going to say that again. A short seller is just a buyer that hasn't bought yet. Okay. And speaking of that, the only time that a short seller doesn't have to buy back is if a company goes bankrupt. Okay. So I don't know the specifics on Sears and Blockbuster, but I will talk about that for a quick second. Sears and Blockbuster, the OTC tickers, they shot up over the past couple of days, right? Thursday and Friday. Ryan Cohen tweeted out two photos of companies this entire year. It was Sears and Blockbuster. Okay. Now, I am the furthest thing from a tinfoil conspiracy theorist whatsoever, but he obviously is sending signs. He's not just posting on Twitter just for fun, right? He's alluding to something. And then speaking of alluding to something, AMC Theaters tweeted out yet like the other day, the moon will come to us. And I know they're promoting a movie called Moonfall, but companies this large, they just wouldn't risk that reputation. Now, like compared to like a YouTuber with like 10,000 or 20,000 subs, they could risk that reputation because the internet forgets things really quickly, especially like that small of a scale. But companies like AMC and GME, you can't just say, oops, Moaz, my bad, and then nothing happens and then expect your customer base to completely forget about it. So I look at like the psychological aspect of things. Um, TA is one of my stronger suits, but I've since thrown it out the window because there's this cycle that AMC is in. If you want a price, I think it's going to around 180 for AMC in the next couple weeks. That's just what I think. Don't make investments based on it for sure. But at the same time, tomorrow it could go to 10 grand. Like this is why like man, I get a lot of DMs, and I'm very fortunate for my platform questions, and like today I was, are we closer to the Moaz, and I get asked that a lot, and the answer is I don't know, and I don't know just as much as Trey doesn't know, and just as much as Charles Payne doesn't know, and just as much as I don't know, maybe Gary Gensler doesn't even know. So this is like, you got to treat this as an unprecedented situation, and you just have to have a plan for you. because it's like, I'm not hitting the buy button for you. I'm not hitting the sell button for you. That's not my money. My money is in my portfolio. I'm responsible for that. I'm not responsible for anybody's money other than mine, right? And so that's a big thing that some apes could learn is accountability. Now, if you already have accountability, I'm not speaking to you, but there's a lot of people that just look to what the next guy is doing. And I promise you, even if you get rich off AMC and GME, that shit will fuck you in life if you keep looking to other people. Like, you have to live and die by your words and your actions. And if you don't, you're just going to be running in circles, following the next person, and you're never going to live a life full of cool experiences. So I look at things completely psychologically, and I think these regulations are going to start showing some legitimate price action, and the short interest data might actually be relevant. And, you know, we saw it on Friday. I think Ortex reported an 8.5% increase. You know, there's like 118 million shares that are out for lending right now. And so those numbers might start going really, really high. You know, there's a ticker right now that is probably going to squeeze pretty soon called BBIG. It's Vinco, and they're merging with a TikTok like company. Their short interest is like 40 or 50 or 60%. So AMC might start looking more and more and more like that. But you know, if I play this thing super simply, man. I'm comfortable with my portfolio, and I know the number that I'm gonna sell at. And I'm not gonna sell my entire portfolio at one price. I'm gonna break it up, obviously. So um that's what I'm doing, and I just implore people to have their own plan. You know, in psychology, see, I know psychology a lot more than I do trading. I've been studying anxiety, depression, mental health. I used to be a drug addict and alcoholic, and I look up to people like Russell Brand and Eckhart Tolle and so many others. And the one thing that is so powerful in life is looking at what you can control, and then looking at what you cannot control. You know, life is not black and white. There's a gray area always going on in life. But if you can look at life black and white, it breaks things down into simpler terms. And so in this situation, what do I have control over? Well, personally, I have control over investing in the stocks that I like. So I choose to only have AMC and GME in my portfolio. And every extra dollar, most of my income goes to paying bills because I live in Los Angeles, which ties in the macroeconomy of this thing. Like, what I pay for a fucking, I live in a very small 1 bedroom apartment, and I'm very fortunate just to have a roof over my head. But the price that I pay, and I live in a very modest neighborhood too, by the way, it's like insane. It's like it's like so fucking high compared to what our parents used to pay. Like, you know, I talked to LA locals about how life used to be in the 70s and 80s, and you never used to worry about paying rent. It just wasn't a factor. You worked 40 hours a week, and as long as you did that, you were probably cool on your bills. Now it's like, dude, everything is upside down, man. And that's why I'm so passionate, and that's why I enjoy making these videos, because I see so many people struggling, and I see everything is so backwards. Like, why is gas $5 a gallon, but most people in LA are paid $12 an hour for work, and then after taxes, they're like making nine. You're like basically making like 2 gallons of gas hour. Like, I like to think of terms like in cost of goods, you know, like how much are you earning compared to like what is that going to give you? And the power of the dollar is your buying power is less than it was in 1969. Like, that's just fucking insane. Like, the economy basically has gone backwards in 40 years. So there are so many things that are unfortunate with this economy on a macro scale. But I honestly believe that AMC and GME, this wealth transfer into the 99%, is going to be uh, one of the greatest events to ever happen in world history. And some people might think that's like an outlandish statement. I don't. I firmly believe this wealth transfer is going to change the world. If you read Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, he talks about how you have to go through this turbulence on a macro societal scale, and there's going to be a lot of suffering and adversity and all that, and we've been seeing that over the past like 10, 20 years, you know, with the financial stability of the market, with these like mass shootings that are everywhere, that are so fucking ridiculous and so sad and unfortunate and nonsensical, and all these things, and people like obsessing over social media and like completely just drowning in ego, right? So I think this is honestly part um of a bigger, I don't believe in fate at all, but I do believe that AMC and GME, this wealth transfer, is going to change the world, because you got to think about who is investing in AMC. It's the working class. It's the 99%. It's the people that literally hold this nation on their backs from their manual labor. And so these people are very down to earth. They know what it's like to struggle. They know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. So these people will change the world with their money. Are there going to be some people that blow it on stupid things that are not good for them? Of course. And if I was in my 20s, I'd probably do the same. In my early 20s, I'm still in my 20s now. If I was in my early 20s, I'd probably do the same thing. But in all honesty, bottom line, I believe AMC and these shareholders are going to change the world. And I believe the MOAS, in whichever shape it takes form, is going to happen. I just don't know when. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let it rip. But that's pretty much all I have.
That was awesome, Jackson. No, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's the best thing that any of us can do is, we don't know. We don't know. To even remotely guess at when it's going to happen anymore is just unacceptable, because I mean we're trading against computers, we're trading against people that really don't want to lose that money, and it's gonna happen when it's gonna happen. Like, you just gotta hang tight, be patient, and go for a walk. Like, that's all I can say is just go for a walk and don't look at the minute by minute or the 5 minute by 5 minute. You'll go insane, I promise you.
Yeah. Could I talk about that for 1 minute?
Go for it.
Yeah, so watching the 1 minute candles, that's for scalping and that's for day trading, which I used to day trade, but I don't anymore. I just hold two stocks. So that, just like Kenneth said, that will drain your energy. It's laughable. There's no reason to watch the charts if you're just holding AMC and GME for the squeeze. What I do is I set my alerts, and my alerts are much higher than the prices they are right now. And once they, trip those alerts, I'll know to look at it. But these people that just watch it from bell to bell, it will drain you. And if your conviction is not strong enough, it'll eat away at your conviction. There's no point of it. I know some YouTubers like to live stream all day, but trust me, they're not doing the community a service. I will promise you that. So there's no point of that. And then another thing is, one of the first things I learned from one of my trading mentors is the only time that you are worried or you second guess yourself is when you're over leveraged, so you're using money that you shouldn't be, like you're using rent money, or you put too much money, you fucked up your risk management, you put too much money into one stock or whatever, or B, you don't have conviction. Okay, those are the only times that you should ever worry. And people will ask me about like AMC and GME, and they'll ask me like, is it stressful and stuff like that, and it's like, honestly, no. Like, I actually forget about these. I like forget about my portfolio a lot of days, because I'm going through my daily life, right? I implore people to continue your daily life, like do activities, go to work if you need to, but like the more that you don't look at the charts in this scenario, the better, because this is a war of attrition. And if you if you watch the 1 minute, um, it just drains your energy, man. And there is no point. That's exactly what the banks want you to do. They want you to watch the 1 minute, but in all reality, price movement moves off of regulation enforcement. That's how I see it. Okay, so um That's how I see it. And also, GameStop earnings is tomorrow, so I don't set dates, but I am excited about GameStop earnings. We know they're working on things, but it's going to be a cool time. So GameStop earnings is tomorrow, 2 p.m. West Coast, 5 p.m. East Coast.
Tomorrow should be a very interesting day.
That's badass. Can I touch on something that Jackson was just talking about?
Yes, it's your guys' show. You guys talk. This is
Here's
you.
you make a great point there, Jackson, about what it costs us to survive versus what it costs our parents or the people that were the boomers and whatnot from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. The average house in 70s was like around 27, 28 grand. You can't even buy a half decent car nowadays, or at least a six cylinder for under 28, 30 grand. Plus the taxes and interest you got to pay on top of it, and it's a depreciating asset. Whereas a home, you can take out a 15 or 30-year mortgage and it appreciates in value. So there's a huge difference there as well in how the returns on that money are given to Americans, as well as the underlying asset itself. Car, which doesn't last long compared to a home, which could last upwards of 100+ years. And we're looking at record high prices of homes all around the country. LA, where you're from, Chicago, where I'm from, and everywhere, all the way to New York and in between. So it's really kind of fucked up there, because one of the things that's not helping the situation is what's going on with this eviction moratorium either. The landlords are not able to continue to pay the rent when they're not getting, or to pay their mortgages when they're not getting rent money from their tenants. Currently, I shared one of those USA Today articles, and I believe it says here that 1.1% of the money that South Carolina received in federal dollars has been distributed. 1.1. So on average, they've given out about 8 to 9% of the money that they counted towards our country's GDP at this point for the eviction moratorium, which is around 90 billion. But of that 90 billion, only around 8 or 9% has actually been distributed. And then certain states like South Carolina, they only got 1% of 1.1% of the. I'm sorry, they received $272 million, but have only distributed 1.1% to the people, to the tenants, and those tenants need to give it to their landlords. So why is the federal government holding on to it? Why are the states holding on to this money instead of paying it out to the people?
It's so similar to a lot of cities. They have funds to help out the homeless, and they just don't fucking help out the homeless. Like if you look at Seattle, for example, homeless is rampant in there, and it's obviously rampant in LA too. Like go to fucking Skid Row, it'll change your perspective on life. But in Seattle, they have a budget of like $104,000 per homeless person, and they just don't help the homeless. It's like it's the most insane thing in the world. Like I don't have a problem with paying taxes, but it's got to go to somewhere noteworthy. It's got to go to a good cause, and it shouldn't just go to fucking RPGs and fucking big gun trucks for wars. Like it should go to things that we actually need. Like it's just, I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but there's just so much money that is spent the wrong way, and the people that don't have to worry about money, aka politicians. And by the way, I've had politicians in my family, so I'm not just talking out of my ass right here, I'm talking from experience. They don't know what it's like to be somebody working paycheck to paycheck. So like there was that financial house committee meeting with Maxine Waters, I don't know, like 2 months back, and you could just tell the guys that had been through a financial struggle before and the guys that have never had a struggle in their life, and they were born on the fucking country club playing 18 holes every day, and you could hear it in their voice. And that one guy that called in, his name was Al Green, which was so funny, Representative Al Green, and he was for the transparency in the market and the reporting on the short sales. And then this other guy, I forget his name, and he was like, well, why do we need short sale reporting? There's enough transparency in the market. And you can totally see who's paid off and who's not. And they're all paid off by somebody, by the way. But it's just like the corruption is so glaring at this point. and that's because of the internet, which is so beautiful. Like, think if we didn't have Reddit, think if we didn't have Twitter, think if we didn't have IG, all the social media platforms, we would not be able to spread this information as quickly as we did. And so I'm actually really grateful that we're living through this time, because things are being exposed left and right. And it's like the jig is up, dude. The jig is up. When I was in high school, I didn't know any of this shit was happening. I had no idea. When like '08 happened, I was like 16 years old. I was like, the only thing I cared about was like smoking weed and partying. But now that I'm 29 years old, I'm focused on it, because it could destroy the world if the 1% continues their reckless abandon with money and with their resources. And so that's why I'm so happy that the apes are finally going to have the money and the resources, because they will change the world for the better. But sorry, Marcel.
Yeah, brother. No, you're fucking on point, man. You're fucking on point right there, dude. And that's what we got to be worried about, because people wondering like, what does this have to do with the stock market? What politics and economics have to do with stock market? Well, absolutely everything, because you're not just playing a regular. Every business, you have to look at the underlying fundamentals and the analysis, and that includes what's going on with that business in the everyday. And what's going on with AMC and GameStop is something that's happening worldwide, because we all have to be into account of the situation. And there's definitely no point in putting a date on the mother of all short squeezes, because nobody knows when it's going to happen. But just because of all this shit coming together, that's what makes me think that it's coming real soon. For example, we were just talking about homes, right? Let's see, like Arkansas, I think they've only given out like 2% of all the money that they received. New York was given $2.6 billion in the federal allotment, and they've given out 3.8%. That's absolute garbage. So that's $100 million. They've given out 3.8% in emergency rental assistance money as of July 2021 to renters or landlords. That's absolute garbage. And at the same time, as from CNN.com, CNN Business, you'll find that as of August 2nd, home prices hit another record high as of June 2012, which is 112 months in a row of year-over-year gains. All right, 112 straight months of year-over-year gains in the housing market. That is ridiculous bubble, no matter what, especially for an economy that's in this bad rough shape as we are. And the median home costs between 4.5 and 5 times the median household income. That's absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. So that's what's caused, and companies like BlackRock are well aware of this stuff. They're very well aware of what's happening, and they've bought over 300,000 or so homes recently. It may be even more. I'm not even looking at that in front of me at the moment. And they're going to continue to do that, because they're going to make a ton of money off real estate. Real estate analytics firm Green Street estimates that single-family rental values in the United States are 15% higher than they were before COVID, because less people can afford to buy and more people are renting. There's higher demand for renting. So, single-family rental values are literally up 15% higher than they were right before COVID.
So I do have something from Shelley Hart. With regards to the rental assistance, the Fed created a legal agreement that landlords, for some reason, are not agreeing to. I have not been able to see the agreement, but that's one reason why the rental assistant remains unused. Do you know anything about that?
Of course. Yes, they made it so that landlords couldn't kick people out. However, that was unconstitutionally done by the CDC. And as we all know, the Supreme Court, maybe about a week ago, came out and totally shut that shit down. Yeah, they shut that shit down. I wasn't expecting that to happen, but they said this is fucking unconstitutional, and five out of and five voted to to get rid of the eviction moratorium. So that means that now these tenants can be kicked out. And do you think that landlord that hasn't seen rent in 3 to 9 months or more is not going to kick that fucking tenant out? Why wouldn't you? You have to. You have to fucking put somebody in there that can afford the rent and that's going to pay you if you want to maintain it. If you're already going to go bankrupt, what do you care at this point? You're going to lose that investment home. That person's going to get kicked out, and they're not going to be able to get an apartment. They're going to live on the street. They're going to rent for BlackRock for a 40% premium on top of the rent, with a like almost like a drunk driving insurance. It's going to be SR22, but for, having shit credit to rent an apartment. And these are all things that, companies are going to be able to make a ton of money off of. Like, for example, insurance companies, BlackRock, property management firms. It's just going to be one thing on top of the next.
Well, hell, I'll even give you this one. So, my husband and I, we were looking at buying this year, which, we started looking in January. We kind of saw the real estate bubble forming, and we were like, nope, we'll wait. That's okay. And then, the prices, they were going 30-40% over ask, and we were like, hell no, like, we're not doing that. And so then, because I do have my parents living with me, we were looking at maybe renting something bigger. Well, nope, that wasn't a thing either, because so our rent for a 3-2 in the Tampa Bay area, and we've been in our house, this is our third year. We are very fortunate because we are locked in at like 1,600. A house our size right now would be 2,400 plus. 2,400
Yeah.
plus for a new lease. And we were like, well, we might not quite like what we have right now. I mean, we love our house. Like, it's a good size. But, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with 5 people and a toddler, 4 adults and a toddler, it doesn't work too well. But, it's fine. It's fine. I whatever.
I understand it's tight, and you got to do what you've got to do to make it work. And there's
Well,
got to
and
be some sort of sacrifice somewhere, whether it's in price or size.
yeah, well, and see, and that's the really unfortunate thing. So anyone that's up in like the Bay County of Florida, up where the hurricanes keep getting hit and everything. So, because they were renting a townhouse, right, and their rent was like 900 a month, and it was getting ready to be bumped up to like 14 or 1,500 a month because they're supply and demand, and that's when I was like, no, they're in their 60s. I was like, come move in, we'll figure it out, whatever. um but this is where this is getting asinine. They are literally pricing out the middle class. And then we do have I don't know if you saw that we know that Michael Burry, his biggest investment is water, right? That was his biggest investment. That's what he wanted to really tout around. But now he's buying farmland like Bill Gates. And it's one of my biggest things. I'm sure you guys have heard it now if you've listened to any of my things recently. I say buy land with water and whatnot. That's what I was saying earlier. So they're wondering if you've heard about this and what your thoughts are on these big money people buying up farmland. Either one of you.
I've touched on that plenty of times. Like I've said many times that Bill Gates is the largest owner of farmland in America now, because he's been buying it left and right, and as is Michael Burry and many of other people, because they understand that with land comes power, and the cost of land and the taxes on land without improvements, and improvement being a home or a structure, is very, very cheap. So they can afford it many times over for many decades, especially with the way that their investments are stacked. So that's not a problem for them. They're going to, like wars have happened for the eternity, for the entirety of mankind over land, and it's going to continue to happen. And this is just another war in which they can legally take land from people and or buy it for pennies on the dollar. Because even though they're buying them now for a high price, when this shit does tank and all these people do get kicked out of their apartments and do lose their homes, they're going to be able to buy them even more for even cheaper, as are we, post the mother of all short squeezes, in my opinion, because this is directly correlated. And I'm kind of gonna shift gears in here, but it kind of all goes together, because what's going on with this shit, with real estate, with unemployment, with inflation and supply chain and the stock market that we've all touched on, and the over leveraging of banks to $190 trillion in unrealized derivatives notional losses. Uh, this all comes back together to the margin calls going on in China for Evergrande Bank, and then the real yields in Europe on junk bonds are now at literally below Eurozone inflation levels for the first time. So central bank debt purchases are literally negative yields to them right now. They're at 2.34%, but when you account for inflation, they're literally losing money. And this is the thing that a lot of people were just saying, that, oh yeah, no, American bonds are not going to go negative, and this and that. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. We saw it in 2020 with the 3-month treasury yield. It went down to like negative 0.06. And it's already negative when it's that low, because you got to take into account for inflation. So it's like even higher losses. So this has already happened in China. They're no longer accepting, Evergrande's junk bond notes for the RRP. They're no longer accepting it as collateral. They're having to sell their real estate assets to fucking try to meet their margin calls. They are doing everything. Their bonds reach maturity in January of 2020. Now, the high yield bonds in Europe are not high yield at all. They're lower than inflation. And, their willingness to extend credit to their borrowers while losing money, is not going to continue. They say so themselves that they're going to have a meeting about it to discuss what they're going to do. And what are they going to do? They're going to move away from the fucking 3-month bond and everything else, all those high yield bonds, because they're not high yield anymore. And they're going to be using the RRP and other things such as that, just like they are doing in China and they've been doing here in America, because it's the only way to keep this money from fucking losing money, from losing value hand over fist. And the American bonds, the mutual bonds, the treasury yields are going to go negative in general as soon as the market does have a crash. You guys noticed that the Dow lost around 250, 300 points today or so and recovered magically. And guess what? That's happening every single fucking 18th and 19th of the month or so, right around the middle of the month. This happens every single month. The Dow's losing 300 points, and it's getting magically eaten back up by the banks that are playing quid pro quo games with the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. They're able to prop the stock market back up, basically with a influx of cash that the Fed wants to burn up anyway. So that's the only thing it's literally artificially inflating our stock market and keeping it at all-time highs. And one of these moments is with these cryptocurrency, flash crashes that happened today. That was not a coincidence. That didn't have anything to do with El Salvador. A country adopting Bitcoin as its national currency does not reduce the fucking value of Bitcoin. It increases it exponentially. That happened because there are many companies such as Citadel and other market makers that have a lot invested in cryptocurrency, needed additional funds in order to keep GameStop and AMC and other things like BBIG, et cetera, from running out of hand. Because they're just trying to get by every single day here with these phase 5 requirements, and they know that their time is ticking. These bonds are fucking garbage. Real estate is garbage. The economy is garbage. The stock market is garbage. It's all fucking trash. And then the daily treasury can't pay our fucking bills. All right. The United States Treasury this month, at the beginning of the month, at the end of August, at the beginning of this month, we sold $106 trillion in mortgage-backed securities. All right. And they also took $74 million from the Economic Recovery Program to fund the U.S. Treasury in order to try to pay our country's bills. So we began with $355.9 billion. And as of today, as of Friday, September 3rd, they started the day with $292 billion in the bank. And at the end of the day, they spent over $30 billion and they had under $262 billion. This is a rate. They had to sell those mortgage-backed securities, and they also had to stop paying for Medicare. They had to stop paying for Social Security and VA benefits. Our fucking our veterans are not going to get their benefits on time. People that get Social Security checks are not going to get their Social Security checks on time. If you guys, everybody takes a look at the link that I posted from the fiscaltreasury.gov, it shows you that IRS, advanced child tax credits, economic impact payments, tax refunds for businesses, and tax refunds for individuals have almost been entirely cut, almost completely. That's why your tax returns are late. I know you know who you are. That's why all you guys' tax returns are late. That's why your Social Security checks are probably going to be running late. Medicare is not going to get paid. Doctors and nurses and hospitals around the country are going to take months, maybe a year or more, 2 years to actually get the money that they're supposed to get now. Your kids' schools are not going to receive their funding on time. There's going to be a whole plethora of effects that's occurring here. And at this rate, they're spending, and on the lowest, they spent $4 billion, and on the highest, they spent $62 billion in one day. So they're averaging between $20 and $27 billion a day. All right. So if you take that into account, a closing balance of $262 billion, you've got to take into account the fact that we're going to be receiving tax revenue once a week. because people are still going to be paying their taxes to the government. So they're going to be receiving that income influx of tax revenue. And you've got to take into effect that Hurricane fucking Ida just destroyed a quarter of our country.
Yeah, the entire East Coast just got destroyed.
From the Gulf of Mexico and New Orleans, with homes flooded to the to above the fucking roofs, where you can barely see chimneys sticking out of the ground. You can't even see a stop sign. And all the way up to fucking New York and Philadelphia, where even when after the storm passed and the hurricane went into the ocean, floodwaters came in, and many people have died and are displaced, have lost their home, have no electricity, are waiting in line for 8 hours to get fucking 2 gallons of gas to fill up a generator.
It's irritating, right? And yet our government kind of just sits on their ass and hopes for the best and stays in recess. Like, there should be so much more that's being done. And
oh yeah, absolutely, it's fucking ridiculous. It's irritating.
well, you want to hear something? So while our country has been falling apart, boss, did you see the video of Nancy Pelosi and their friends having a party in Napa Valley?
Oh my God, no! But I can only imagine what this little cock fest looks like.
Oh yeah, no masks, no nothing or anything. They just were celebrating something. I don't know. It was a mess. But yeah, it was like the first week they were on recess. So yeah, while everything
7-week vacation.
hmm yeah, so while all of our country has just been kind of going, what the hell are we doing? With unemployment now done, the extra unemployment or any assistance with that, the housing moratorium and all that being done, and everyone just kind of going, what the hell? They're drinking wine and everything in Napa Valley. So those are elected officials, guys. This is please vote them out. Like,
Yeah, no kidding.
She also made $7 million last year doing Zoom calls. $7 million. And they call us greedy.
Well, I was going to say on the wine party, that might have been like the NVIDIA call party, because that was one of her plays a couple of months ago before the semiconductor manufacturing piece got put in the bill. Like, she had bought a bunch of NVIDIA shares and calls. It's interesting.
Are you surprised?
I mean, by the way,
it's legal for Congress, right?
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, I mean, and we've talked about this on here before. I mean, the issue is that, who has the ability to pass a law that would ban insider trading on Congress? That would be Congress. And so,
Exactly.
do we ever expect for that to happen?
That's a great point. Yep.
Yeah.
This just goes to show that, like the police are policing themselves. They really are. But that's what got us here, and I like to bring up, I'd like to round out by getting to the point that I'm kind of getting at. And one of the scariest things about this whole thing that most people are kind of pretending is not possible, because they don't think it's going to happen, but they have not realized that that this whole debt ceiling issue we have is one of the most serious things that's negatively impacted our stock market and economy time and time again throughout history. And it's not going to be something that's going to be easily solvable. The committees have a $3.5 trillion reconciliation package that the House Natural Resource and Oversight Committees took on. And, they're trying to put a little bow on it and bring it up to Congress so they can vote on it. But they've already, 100 Republicans, have already stated that they're against this fucking shit. And the Democrats, half the Democrats have already, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but, Google it if you want. Half the Democrats have already stated that they're not interested in passing these bills that the way that they are now. And guess who did the same thing in 2013? Mitch McConnell and these other Republicans, and they did the exact same thing back in 2013. These guys know what they're doing, and they're okay with it. They could give a fuck all. So they have got their investments allocated for what's coming, and they know what's got to happen here to pop the bubbles that occurred with banking and with real estate. So they've got to pop it and bring it down in a stance that they can make some money off of. So they can't control it, but at least they can position themselves properly to be able to, make extreme amounts of money
Oh, we've lost you, boss. You're really distant. No.
I might have to restart mushrooms.
Every-
Any better, or is it still bad?
no, it's still terrible. Like you went like really clear to like really distant. That was silly. All right, so he'll be back. Jackson, do you have anything to add on to this subject, or?
I'm just looking forward to GameStop's earning call. I think their estimates are going to be blown out of the water. GameStop has such a loyal fan base, and they had it before this whole stock market revolution. Kids that love games, but now it's just like to a level that's like insane. Like people buy gift cards to other companies just from GameStop just to support the company. So we know that the sales are going to look good, the numbers are going to look good. And people are awaiting a certain announcement, and if it happens, awesome. If it doesn't, awesome as well. But I believe Ryan Cohen has an ace up his sleeve. I truly believe he wants to revolutionize the space of e-commerce, and I think he's going to do it. Again, speaking at a psychological level, watch an interview with Ryan Cohen and tell me he's not one of the most confident human beings on the planet. Like when he says something, you believe it. He just has that about him. When he was 20, dude, when he was 25 years old, he was like the head of Chewy, like running a gigantic company and turned it into the biggest pet store superstore in the world at 25 years old. Like I was just graduating from college when I was 24 25. So like this guy is a phenomenal leader. Same thing as Adam Aaron, and I'm holding till however long this takes. I don't really do so much marking up of charts anymore. It's not really worth it because if a hedge fund or institution or family office can just short attack a stock at a moment's notice, well, TA does not account for that. There's nothing in any TA's handbook that will account for that. That will come out of nowhere. So you can't account for that because you could have your support at $46.25, but if they short attack it for the next 3 hours, well, that shit doesn't mean anything. And I'm like outside of these stocks, I'm a firm believer in TA. Like if I want to have some fun and trade crypto on margin, I use TA. That's all I use. But on these stocks, it's just there's so much I there's certain words I can't really say, but there's so much nonsense going on with these stocks, and it just doesn't follow it. And so if you believe that the stock was shorted multiple times the float, well then maybe it might be a worthy investment to hold on and see what's gonna happen next. Just like these stocks, if anybody's like brand new to the stock market, there's nothing that's ever been like this in stock market history. Yeah, you could bring up the Diamond Company, what was it, CMKZ or whatever, 10 years ago. You could bring up Overstock. You could bring up Volkswagen. This is that times 1,000. And this is gonna be they're already gonna make a Hollywood movie out of it. They're gonna make multiple documentaries out of it. Um, it's just a beautiful time to be alive, and I feel fortunate to hold these stocks, and then I'm looking forward to doing good with that money, and not like, of course I'm gonna reinvest a lot of that money, but I'm also gonna give it away to people that need it more than I do, and so that's why the apes are a special kind, man, and shit, it's Planet of the Apes, and we're gonna take over the whole fucking world.
I love that. That's fucking awesome, dude. And knowing everything that you said is 100% on point. And this statement here is not is 100% my own and may not be reflective of what Jackson feels. But because of everything that we just got done talking about for the last, hour 15 or so, and Jackson stating how special these stocks truly are, AMC and GameStop and everything that's going on with them, you know, if you want to consider, AMC the big brother. I'm sorry, GameStop the big brother and AMC the little brother. That's fine. They're not exactly the same, but they're similar. And they're from the same family when you think of all the baskets that they're held in together and the way that they're being shorted and manipulated together. So at the end of the day, they are going to fucking run together and they are going to fly. And none of us know when it's going to happen. Expect all dates to be wrong. But there are certain dates that people need to be aware of because there are certain things that are occurring, like Phase 5 regulations, the new margin regulations and initial margin regulations and all these other filings that are coming into play. And also, the NSCC 010 getting pushed back to November was an absolute fantastic thing, in my opinion. Some people are confused and think that this is terrible, that they're trying to stop the MOAS. That's not. That was basically a pawn shop, allowing the DTCC and NSCC to borrow assets from another company to then use the money from those assets without selling them off, or borrow money from other companies and taking assets from a certain hedge fund to buy back their short positions. They're not going to do that anymore because they know that they're going to get caught left holding a gigantic bag of trash. So instead of doing that and losing a shitload of money for their insurance policy, I feel that the NSCC and DTCC and SCC and the government are going to let a lot of these hedge funds go out of fucking business on purpose, as one, not just so much a measure of changing the system, but more so to have a fall guy, to have the majority of the money come from certain places, and to be able to throw some people under the bus for the situation that's going on. Because I do think that some people probably will go to jail, not as many as deserve to. I wish most of them would fucking hang, but that's probably not going to happen. But everything that's going on here with Congress is coming back on the 20th of September. They're going to start talking about this infrastructure bill, and they're going to start talking about this separate $3.5 trillion spending package. They're going to fight and argue. 100 Republicans have directly opposed this. Half of the Democrats are opposing this, and the Democrats can only afford to have 3 Democrats not vote along with them in order for the bipartisan agreement to not work. Only 3. And they're already, divided halfway down the middle with these Democrats. So there is going to be a shakeup here. And it doesn't mean that it's the mother of all short squeeze is going to happen, but I do think that, in my opinion, I do think that it will. I'll probably be wrong, whatever, I don't care. But I still have to go ahead and say this because we've seen it time and time again, 2013, 11, and so on in the past. Every single time that we have a debt ceiling issue, that we have these talks in between Congress with the infighting, the stock market always loses a lot of fucking money, and worldwide liquidity is drained up. That's what's going to happen here. And as you saw today, crypto lost a massive amount of money. It didn't, in my opinion, it didn't have anything to do with El Salvador. We're going to be seeing more and more of these regulations picking away at them. And with these increasing volatility in the government and politics and world economy, it's going to cause a macroeconomic shock to the stock market that, in my opinion, is going to produce the mother of all short squeezes. It may be a baby squeeze. I do believe that we're going to see $200 to $225 in the next couple of weeks, maybe sooner, in the next week to two. I think that $225 or so is close. But that doesn't mean that that's the mother of all short squeezes, because I think that that's going to be the psych out. I think we could be trading in the $52 to $58 range by later this week. I think that that's going to be the psych out where they're going to try to get people to sell off. And when the debt ceiling crisis does occur and the stock market loses trillions and trillions of dollars worldwide, I really do feel that it's going to drain so much liquidity that buybacks are going to begin in hedge funds and so on, like margin calls have already begun. These margin calls don't take 1 hour. They have to comply within an hour, but they don't start actually making the buybacks usually for 2 to 3 days. So they could have already happened, and we're just starting to see the beginning effects of it now. And we don't truly know the way that this is going to play out. And that's what makes this place so special, because it's the only and last time that this is ever going to happen in world history, to the best of our knowledge.
And you got to think about the other short squeeze plays that are playing out right now. I think SPRT already happened. BBIG is probably yet to happen. Root, NAOV. There's so many. Like, every single thing is heavily shorted. That's why there was a DD written called the Everything Short. But some of these apes are also playing these auxiliary short squeeze plays. Where the fuck do you think those earnings are going to go to? It's going to go right back into AMC and GME. So, like, that's the whole thing with short selling. It's extremely risky. It's typically only done by people that have hundreds of millions of dollars. Why? Because you risk an infinite loss. You don't risk an infinite loss if you go long on stocks. You just risk your 100% of your investment. But that's if a company goes bankrupt, right? If you short sell, and AMC goes to, it could literally go to infinity. AMC literally could go into infinity. GME could also go to infinity. There's many reasons, but the main reason is because the float was likely shorted multiple times over. So that makes a name your price scenario. So if AMC goes to infinity, well, there's always someone on the other end of the transaction, right? Whoever shorted it, they're going to lose an infinite amount of money. That's why short selling is so risky. And it's so funny because there's, I don't even like to talk about these fucking stock news outlets, but it was Motley Fool like a couple years back, and they were talking about how risky it was to short sell and like be careful because you can lose all your. I love when people tell you to be careful with your own money. Like no, I just fucking randomly throw money around like carelessly. Like it's like the stupidest thing in the world. But there was this article talking about how it's risky to short sell and it's an infinite risk of losing money. And then like here we are, they're like trying to short and distort. By the way, there's a term called short and distort, and that's what's been going on since January. It's the opposite of pump and dump. So look up short and distort if you don't know what I'm talking about. That's what's going on. It's what Jim Cramer describes in that interview from like 10 years ago. You short a company, and even before that, you distort what it looks like to the public. So you slander it, you make up lies about it, you say nobody's going to the theaters, you say their fundamentals are off, you say Netflix is going to steal their demographic. It's all fucking bullshit, and it's just to distort the public's perception of it, and in hopes that the stock will tank. Well, guess what? We're all so fucking stupid that we just buy on the dip and rip. And when I say we're stupid, I use that facetiously in the way that Reddit and Wall Street Bets uses it. But that was the one thing that the short hedge funds could not account for. How could they account for an internet movement and which turned into a real world global movement that buys on the dip and the rip? You cannot account for that. I don't care your computer algorithm system, any of that. And now we have fantasy football right around the corner. So it's like we get to play the stock market Monday through Friday, and then we get to watch football on the weekends. Like, it's the easiest game in the world to me, man. I just fucking hold until my number is called. It's like it's so obvious who's winning right now, and I don't think the game's over. That's my opinion.
Fuck yeah, brother.
What you were just describing, Jackson, I consider it the ape factor. They have all these different
Yeah.
algorithms and everything that they had to program these computers to actually know and understand the bulls, the bears, and whatnot. We added the ape factor, and their computers can't figure it out yet.
Yeah, it's like when Tom Brady was drafted, he was drafted like the last player in the entire draft in 2000 from Michigan. I think he played Michigan State. Yeah. And drafted last. Can you imagine that? Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback ever with fucking 6, 7 Super Bowl rings. He didn't have the he didn't look like DK Metcalf, right? He didn't run a 4.6 40. He didn't bench 300 pounds. But what he had was the smarts, he had the composure, and he had the confidence that he wanted to win as many football games as possible. And that's why him and Bill Belichick meshed so well. But the apes have the ape factor, the Tom Brady factor. It's this intangible that could not be accounted for preceding what is going on right now. And so it's like you can't even blame them that they're in this situation, but here they are, and they made their bed, and guess what? You got to lie in it. Like if you were a retail trader and you made this bad of a bet, like you would have already had to lie in your bed. Like when I started trading, dude, I lost thousands of dollars right off the bat. Everybody does. It's called paying your tuition in the market, especially because I started out with options. But my point is, when you're a retail trader, you make a bad bet, you have to pay for that. when you're an institution, many times you just get bailed out and you just start over again, and they treat it like it's a fucking game. And speaking of games, they want to talk about how the gamification of trading is the issue. It's a complete non-issue. When they bring that up in any talk that they have, any like meeting, it's completely trying to deflect accountability for what is actually going on, and that is the irresponsible and reckless shorting of companies that are never going to go bankrupt, at least not in the next 100 years. And so they do that to deflect accountability, and they say, oh, it's the app trying to coerce you into buying weekly options. That's not the fucking problem, dude. The problem is not college kids playing weekly options like lottos. Like, that's not the problem. If they do that, they'll lose their money and they'll learn. Maybe they won't learn. The problem is you're shorting a company that should never have been shorted in the first place. The main reason why shorting is a functional practice in the market, and it's insane that I know this much, and I'm not like patting myself on the back. But I've only been in the stock market game for less than a year. I started October of last year. It's insane that we all know this much, right? Like we should all get honorary master's degrees in market corruption when this is all said and done. But it's insane how much we've learned, and that's the power of the internet, right? And so you couldn't account for the power of the internet. Well, you could have if you knew how it operated. But I think a lot of these people that run these hedge funds, I think they were so out of touch with how the internet works. You know, one of the first analogies I made to this whole thing was Young Thug putting on a dress for his album cover. Now, this was for one of his albums a couple years back, and he did that so he would break the internet, so he would get all eyes on it, and he sold the fuck out of that album. And then he made millions of dollars off of it. It's the same thing. Like, the internet remains undefeated. You can make a documentary about this, and I know they're making one already called Apes Together Strong, but you could just call it The Internet Remains Undefeated. That's the bottom line. But they could not account for this, right? And so it's their loss, and it's probably going to be the apes' gain.
So we have about, I'll say 30 minutes, however long you guys want. But we do have people that have been requesting to come up. Are you guys up for some questions if I do them one at a time?
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. So D Cruz has been here since we opened this call. So I'm going to bring him up, and then I'll get First Strike, and then Young, and then whoever comes up after that. So
I can say one thing real quick, if that's cool, while you get D Cruz up here.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of people, I posted something on Twitter, and something that a lot of people have really struggled to understand is how these stocks and can actually get to such a high number when somebody says 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 or more a share. And it's the thing is like millionaires and billionaires have been and are in the making every single day on the stock market, every single day. And these people out there that have been looking for plays like this for their whole lives. For example, I posted something from this guy, Mike McCaskill, and he got into GameStop back when it was around $38 a share, because he started finding deep fucking values videos in the same way that we're all finding each other's videos right now. And that shit took off from $38 a share up to $347 a share. Mike McCaskill is just a surf instructor. He's a beach bum, and then not in a bad way. I say that in a positive way. And his investment, his options and shares blew up to $25 million. And then he also managed to make $1.5 million for each of his two kids for their college tuition fund. So this is something that is very, very possible over and over again. And what happened then? On January 26th, billionaire Tesla CEO Elon Musk tweeted one word. All it was game stonk. And the stock just fucking took off to $347 a share. And this guy was a $25 million, millionaire, as were both his children for college. And what is the difference here between now and then? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot, because we all know the shorts haven't covered. All right. And back when GameStop was at $325 a share, and it ran much higher than that, but that's when he sold, because that was his number. 25 million was enough for him. And he actually went ahead and bought back in after that occurred, because he knew that the GameStop squeeze isn't over. This is all in the article that I posted on Twitter. And this is a real life guy. He said, quote unquote, if anything, the money afforded the money afforded him the privilege to continue being exactly the same person he has always been. He says, quote unquote, sorry, I'm not going to buy a Lambo and act like an imbecile. I'm pretty minimalist. It's more of just the satisfaction of I did that, you know, and this guy and his family are set for life just by doing the exact same fucking shit that we're doing. Okay. And one of the things that really gets me is why do you struggle, or why do we struggle to imagine these prices getting to 10,000, 50,000, 500,000 a share? And I really feel it's because most people have never had that kind of life-changing wealth and are so jaded
Yep.
from life's struggles, trials, and tribulations that the thought of that is too painful.
They don't believe they deserve it. It's the impoverished mentality. I could talk about it forever, but
Absolutely. People can't think to get their hopes up that high and hold for anything that seems out of the ordinary because they've never seen it before, because they can't imagine themselves with that kind of money. And that's not how it should be. Everyone needs to have the confidence and the conviction to know what your number is. And I can't tell you what your number is or what my number is. You know, I say that I'm not going to sell this shit till the share price looks like a phone number. And I'll tell you what, my account's got to look like an international fucking phone number for me to sell some of my fucking shit off. And I will, but then I will buy back in and I will buy more, you know, and I will secure some profits and I will buy more until every single short has covered. And this whole mother of all short squeezes is over. So I'm extremely pumped, and I'd love to take questions. I just wanted to drop that little piece of information right there, because there's a big difference between confidence and cockiness, and being able to say that you're worth it is the most important thing in the world, because you need to take emotions out of business and out of the stock market in order to succeed.
Can you say that one more time?
You need to take emotions out of business and out of the stock market, in order to succeed. I tweeted something else today, and I'm just going to hit this since you just asked me. My companies are not for sale, for example, but over the last few months, I've been approached by 4 different broker dealers that buy and sell businesses for their clients over the last several months, way before I started doing this, you know, YouTube stuff. So I know it's unrelated. And we're at the point now where we're being offered $12 million for one of my fucking companies. And I'm not fucking selling, because I know we're worth more, and I'm going to hold on for another couple of years, and I'm going to sell it for 40 or 50 million. And that's what I think that apes need to realize. Know your value, know your worth, be patient, and keep your fucking emotions out of it.
Very well said. All right, D. Cruz, you are up.
Wonderfully said. This has been fantastic so far tonight, guys. I want to congratulate everyone. I've got a couple questions, and be my guest for whoever wants to answer them. One's about reverse repo in terms of regards to, you know, essentially what that could be used for. I'm still in the midst of maybe they're using it. Second is just to go in, you know, nowadays there's a lot of tribalism and stuff going on around, and like to have a adverse opinion on something, you're automatically, even with this whole play, a lot of my friends, great people, but they think I'm gone on to another planet by investing into something like this. It just, I don't know. I feel like, to me, to kind of tie this back to everything, basically, like with everything that's going on in the world and everything you guys have said tonight, it feels like something, all these things are preordained. Like this was meant to happen. This narrative was already like constructed. I want to know who thinks on the same wavelength as that. If not, I'm not judging anyone if they don't. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Jackson, you want to touch on it, or you want me to?
You can go for it.
Now, D. Cruz, you're awesome, man. I know we've been talking on messages. You think you can condense that into a little bit of a shorter sentence for me? Because I'm a stoner and I forget easy.
I was gonna say, did you just rip another one? Because
Yes, sure. Maybe even start with like the reverse repos, or like, yeah, we'll start there if you want to touch on that.
Well, in my opinion, the reverse repurchase is a program that's offered by the federal government in order to way to burn up the money that they're receiving or the money that's leaking out into the stock market through the artificial printing of money. It's a way to keep the economy in check and to keep from inflation in control, keep inflation in control, under control to an extent. But it's been abused to an extent by these banks that is getting unsustainable, you know, and it's also being abused in ways that are actually illegal, which I don't have the exact details to, but I know there are a lot of videos out there on YouTube that if you Google how ETFs are being abused on the reverse repurchase RRP program market, they'll give you in-depth explanations with videos and walkthroughs and all that shit. And, you know, especially, for example, like Charlie's Vids and maybe even AMC Bigums and other guys like that uh, will be able to explain exactly how they're using them and putting them in these baskets in order to, you know, move money around and using the reverse repurchase to maintain liquidity, as well as keep their money out of that 3-month mutual, the 3-month treasury bonds yields, because those yields, like we stated earlier, for the 3-month American bond is 0.05. And we just talked also that the European is now negative when you take into account for inflation. The Euro junk bond, as well as, you know, Evergrande's bonds in China are no longer being accepted either as collateral. So, and also Evergrande's not able to use the RRP anymore. So it's just another drop in the bucket. It's filling up the bucket, and the bucket's about to overflow as far as the RRP goes. And it's just a symptom. It's like one of the many symptoms of our current stock market and economy.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. And I guess just to touch off of that, do you guys anybody think this is like preordained? Like all these narratives just so happen to kind of like I know this is me reading into this. Was it apnophenia where you see things and connect the dots where there is no dots? But like, do you guys feel like these dots are all being connected by us as like a due diligence of a group of people, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think I don't believe in destiny or fate if that's what you're talking about, D Cruz. But I do believe that the apes are all filling in dots. You know, like I've learned so much from so many different individuals, and everyone has their own thing to contribute. And I know, dude, first of all, Marcel is such a stand-up guy. I fucking love just talking to him and just being around his internet presence. You know, none of us have really met in real life, but you know, Marcel is just a whiz on macroeconomics, and that's something I know very little about. I'm more of like a psychological standpoint, and just having conviction and believing in yourself, and just like the simple things, right? And if you you know, you can profit off of the simplicity of things a lot of times. Like Warren Buffett talks about it all the time. Like you just have, sometimes it's just a matter of holding longer than the next person, you know. But yeah, like, and if you want something to do with more like super highly intellectual PhD level due diligence, you go to AMC Bigums. And if you want like an overall like global world view on this and the ramifications of that, you go to Houston Wade, right? And if you want the excitement, like the pumping you up, you go to Trey's Trades. And then not even mentioning like the people on Reddit, like Cryand, who I reached out to because I wanted to have them on my channel so much. I messaged them. Obviously, I didn't get a response back, but there are so many people on Reddit that choose to be anonymous and choose to not have the followers, and that's totally cool too. But they, like, everybody is coming together, and like you said, they're filling in the holes, like these holes that the 1% never thought anybody would be able to fill on their own. We're filling it collectively, and again, that's not something that they could account for, that 5-6 million people would come together around the world and do some research. And I mean, if you think about it, we're doing the history's biggest research project of all, like the biggest research project of all time, and everybody adds something, right? Everybody adds something. Every day that I grow older, I realize you can always learn something from someone or something that happens, and I think that's a true sign of maturity. Like, even when shit doesn't go your way, you can learn something from it. And so I try and always learn something, and I try and take nothing personally, because nothing is personal, right? Everybody's just projecting 24/7. um but you're totally right, and I'm sorry if I went on a tangential rambling, but everybody plays an important role. And like Ape Andy, I watch Ape Andy because it'll calm me down, and it like puts me in a relaxing mood, and he's just like, I feel like he's my second father, you know what I mean? So like,
Let's
everybody plays such a fucking important part. I hope that answers it.
Fuck yeah. And let's not sell Jackson short either. Jackson's so goddamn humble that he won't talk about himself. But this man right here gave me the conviction to stay in this shit when I was still figuring things out. He was going through DD every goddamn day, putting videos out left and right because we need it. And he's always out there seeking new information, talking to new people. You know, he gave me the ability to start talking to you guys on YouTube when I was just doing Reddit threads because I had no way how to, I had no idea how to get this information out. So thank you, Jackson, for everything, and I hope that everybody watches you because your information every day, as well as everybody else that you mentioned, and then some, is definitely extremely valuable, and that's what makes Ape Nation fucking dangerous.
Exactly. It's my greatest pleasure, Marcel. But no, exactly. That's what makes us powerful, because we don't put we don't put ourselves first. We put the group first. Like, as much as investing is an individual game, like, you gotta live and die by your portfolio and your actions, what you do with that. But at the same time, you can go on Reddit and you can research, what did this person say? Okay, what did this person say? Does it line up? Okay, and then compare it to what your beliefs are. Does it line up with my beliefs? And so you always got to double and triple check your work, right? This is something we talked about on a call the other week. There's responsibility on the end of the DD writer, but there's the same equal responsibility on the DD consumer. If, like, say for example, and I'm not one of these people, but say I put a video out tonight that says AMC to $10,000 tomorrow, like, I'm allowed to do that because I have the First Amendment right in the United States. But it's on the viewer, it's on the consumer to be like, okay, does that match up with what my conviction says? And if it doesn't, then fucking, like, unsubscribe from me or don't listen to me. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just beautiful. At the end of the day, it's so beautiful. And obviously we have financial incentives to do this, but at the same time, we're all just looking out for one another. And it's it's such a, I'm getting chills right now when I'm talking, because we're living through a movie. Like, many parts of my life has felt like a movie, from doing music and being a drug addict and just going through wild times in my life. Going to jail as a teenager and all this types of stuff. But like, this experience right now is just. You can tell I'm stuttering because I don't really have words for it. It's one of those things where you look back on and you're like, that shit changed me and that made me who I am today. And you don't really know the impact that it's going to make while you're going through it. It's
Fuck yeah.
it's kind of like high school football. Like, I played football for a long time, and you hate it when I don't hate the AMC movement, by the way. I love it. But you kind of hate the high school football when you're in it, because you're practicing, it's 100 degrees, you're fucking tired of it, you got an injury, blah blah blah. But then when you look back on it, you're like, damn, man, I wish I could still play some ball with my homies right now. That's what this experience is going to be like. And so that's why it's like, just enjoy it. Like, has it taken longer than probably all of us expected? Yes. I thought this shit was going to pop off in April, if I'm being honest, but it hasn't. And so you accept reality as it comes. And if you don't accept reality as it comes, well, you're gonna have a terrible time in life. So acceptance is key, and I hope that answers your question, D Cruz.
I appreciate that. I mean, that was very verbose from both of you, so I really appreciate it, guys.
Hell yeah, man.
Thanks, D Cruz, for
Of
coming up.
course.
All right. So next we have First Strike, who's actually one of the staff members of BullHouse. He does a lot of our TA for us, so I have no idea what he's going to ask you guys.
Nice. Wrinkle Brain. Nice to meet you, brother.
Hey, First Strike, are you able to talk? Usually his mic doesn't work too well, so we'll
Can
see.
you hear me?
We will
Yes,
see.
sir.
Yes.
No?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, he can't hear us now. Yay, Twitter being retarded.
I'll type to him in YouTube. I'll let him know.
Okay.
Yeah, let them know we can hear him perfect. It's all good.
Yeah, we can hear you, brother. Let it rip.
Oh, okay. I can't hear anybody else, but you guys can hear me, I guess. Hey, Jackson. It's First Strike Vet. I used to mod for you. It's been a long time, man. Hey, I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys coming on here. That's awesome. It's weird because I can't hear anything on Twitter Space. I was just wondering, you said you don't do much TA on AMC anymore, but you do like on cryptos and stuff. So I was just wondering kind of what your thoughts on the movement with like Bitcoin and everything today, and what your bottom is and kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, dude, you know what? I traded. First of all, thank you so much. People might not know this, but First Strike was one of my first mods. I didn't even know what a mod was. I didn't even know what they did. But he volunteered graciously, and yeah, so thank you so much for doing that for me. And I know I don't go live a whole lot anymore, but I appreciate that. I was trading Litecoin on margin this past weekend just to make a couple bucks, but what happened, my best guess, and all I can do is just really guess. I the whales took out money. It's as simple as that. The institutions took out a boatload of money because retail can't cause that big of a drop, a 10-15% drop in Bitcoin in one day. That's not retail selling. That's institutions with a ton of money selling. And I agree with Marcel. It has nothing to do with El Salvador. I mean, like, dude, even if like the entirety of Europe accepted Bitcoin as their continental currency, I guess, I don't even think it would make that big of an impact. So the news puts out silly things, but all I can say is that was whales dumping, that was institutions dumping, and in all honesty, it probably was what Marcel was talking about. It's generating liquidity so they can keep kicking the can.
Fuck yeah.
I hope that answers your question, man.
Bro, I just want to touch in and say that El Salvador bought like 24 fucking Bitcoin, and that was all they could afford. So it wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I bumped him down to listening, and I told him to listen on YouTube, so he should have been able to hear your answer on there. And I'm sure he'll message me if he needs more.
Cool.
I appreciate that. We have young Yeezy up here. You're up. What's going on? Oh, maybe not. All right, Penny, you are coming up now.
Love this. So much fun. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Hey, Penny. Penny, can you talk?
No, I can. I have
Oh.
Jackson and somebody else. They're they're still loading for me. So I was trying to not interrupt them if they were talking.
Hey, Kenna, is there any chance that you or the co-host could please remove a couple of these links posted on the top? I'm not exactly sure if I can. I'll try though. That might make it less likely.
Yeah,
Actually,
which one?
I can see it now. I'll do it now. Excuse me.
Okay.
Take mine off. Take all my posts off. They're horseshit.
Oh, you are funny.
Right?
I try to
I
be.
love your
Thank you.
by the way, I love your like meditation videos and whatnot, man, because having anxiety, like wrinkles don't make anxiety go away. Wrinkle brain. So having your like meditation videos and shit is actually pretty cool, man. I like yoga and all that. So it's pretty awesome to see that that you're doing that.
Appreciate you, Marcel.
Penny, did you have a question for us?
or maybe having a little lag because the group is like space calls very full. Thankfully, a lot of people are here, together as a nation, but I think there's a little bit of a lag possibly. Penny, if you can, try to respond, but understandable.
All right. So I will. Well, we wait for Penny to see if she can respond. I'm gonna bring up Geo as well because we're gonna try to start doing this a little bit rapid fire because I know people are gonna start going to bed here soon.
I just woke up. I'm good. Let's continue this in the next 12 hours, dude. Give me a fucking 5-hour energy, man. Give me a. No, I'm just.
Damn, bro. He wants to get those wild hours. Just kidding.
Geo, what's going on?
Oh, hey, just want to say hello, Marcel. What's up, brother? I just called
Hey,
in to say
Gio.
everybody hello.
Hey, hold
What's
on,
up,
hold on.
brother?
Gio's in the Middle East. He's in the fucking military. I would just like to say thank you for your sacrifice, my friend. Thank you for watching and talking to us every day. Your support.
Brother, I appreciate you, and I just want to let you guys know when I first started this in February, I had no clue. My buddy called me up from the States, said, "Hey, you need to look at GME and AMC." So I'm over here with bad internet. I take a look at it, and I see GME ripped up to four something in January. So then I threw a little bit in an AMC when it was at $9. Then it went up to 14. I didn't know any better, so I got out. Then while I was at home in March, I was in crypto, Ethereum. I got into Doge, right? I got into Doge when it was at 38 cents. And it was during that time that Elon Musk was going to be coming out on Saturday Night Live. So I bought into it was going to be $1. So I sold at 70 cents. I said, screw this. I'm out because I think there's going to be a dump. I'm not sure. I took a dump, got my money out at 70 cents, threw it into AMC. Um, Stayed in AMC for a bit, and then we started getting that rip in May. I started going up actually in April. It started going up, so I started making a little bit of money. I told my sister I'm leaving it there. Then once we had that rip, that's what made me want to even stay in more. Even when it came back down, I said, "Oh shit, hell yeah!" So when I started seeing it come
Oh
down,
yeah.
my sister and I, we that's all we would do. We stopped watching regular TV. All we did was watch YouTube. Hey Jackson, you're one of the first videos that we ended up watching, man. So I appreciate everything you've done. Really,
Oh, you're the man. Hey,
I,
thank you for your service as well, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, brother. So once we started following this and the movie theater started opening back up, my sister and I, we ended up going to an AMC, and it was a packed house, guys. And then that following Monday, it said that AMC is nothing and it started tanking. I told my sister, oh, hell no, we need to buy more. And I went from a profit of $30,000 in June, and I was sitting at about $50,000. It tanked all the way to $23,000. I had actually 21,000 in this last major dump that we had here in July. So seeing you guys, I want to say that Marcel, all your DD, bro. Let me tell you, I work on facts, and I have to. I can't work on assumptions or people's guesses. But all the facts that you bring made me want to go ahead and start getting in there more and reading and everything. And let me tell you, numbers don't lie. So I just wanted to call up, say I appreciate you guys. I'm not somebody that knows about the market, but everything you guys are doing is helping me with my conviction because there's things that I didn't understand before that you guys are saying and in plain English where a monkey like me can understand. And being over here in the Middle East, I got a couple of locals here with me, and they've even invested. I had told Marcel when that one just bought 1,270 shares last
Yeah,
week.
send me the video.
So I
That
keep
was
in touch with
awesome.
Yeah, I keep in touch with Marcel out here, and the only reason why is I stopped watching all YouTubers except for Jackson, Marcel. I started listening to Biggins now. He's on here now, so I appreciate his work as well. So there's just certain people that we're actually paying attention to because you guys are spitting out facts. You guys aren't selling stories. You guys ain't selling no dreams. You guys are just spitting out facts now. And as I mentioned to Marcel before, never would I put my conviction or my decisions on my money on you guys. But your guys' DD, your guys' video just solidify what the DDD that I was doing back at home. Because when I didn't know anything about the DTCC, I didn't know anything about the threshold list. This was all, excuse me if anybody's in there, Asian for me. I had no clue. But hearing your guys' videos, hearing you guys when you guys would talk about them, it allowed me to understand it. Once I started seeing all these fake news, fake media, my sister and I would sit back with a joint in our hand, be like, "Fuck that, dude! Fuck that! Put more! Put more!"
Throw more
I
in.
swear, it don't matter how much it is. I'll buy more. And every week, I'm buying here at least 10 to 15 shares a week. I started off with maybe about 475. I'm at 833, and I'm looking to see if there's a little bit more. I'm gonna be buying some more this week, hopefully getting up to 1,000. But guys, I believe in this. I appreciate you guys. I really want to meet you guys to tell you thank you guys. I'm all the way over here in the Middle East, but hopefully here soon I'll be able to be back home with my son and be able not to come back to this hellhole anymore with this money that we're gonna make. But appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Man, you're a lovely gentleman, Gio. Appreciate you, big dog.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Gio. That was amazing.
I appreciate you. Take care, guys. And Marcel, I'll chat with you soon, brother. Take care, and God bless everybody.
Sounds great, brother. You too.
Be safe.
Yeah, like Gio was saying, he's got people that he's over there, working with and fighting with in the military, that are on his team that live in the Middle East. That's where they're from, and they're investing in AMC and GameStop based on the due diligence and the facts that the Ape Nation has provided. Because we each are only doing our little portion, and everybody has to take it with a grain of salt and figure out what's the right for them. And that's what I love about this more than anything.
Yeah, and guys, real quick before I leave, let me tell you, as Marcel hit it, this is a worldwide thing. This isn't only a state thing or a country thing. This is worldwide. And there's like the guys that are in here right now, they're not planning on selling to at least 4 digits, 5 digits. So these guys are holding. They don't care about these drops. They're buying more. As long as they feel that everybody's together, they're all in it. So guys, please pat you guys selves on the back, ladies as well. You guys are doing great, and I they just told me to tell you guys thank you for everything, and they're appreciating the videos. So continue what you're doing. Thank you for everything, guys.
Gio Garcia and our
You're
American
the man.
counterparties in the Middle East, all the way from the Middle East, investing in AMC and GameStop. That is beautiful. We love you guys. Thank you, and stay safe.
Take care, guys.
All right, so I do have a question someone typed up to me, and this comes from Cassandra. I think it's for you, Jackson. So your tweet, Citadel recently sold off 80% of their AMC shares, used to have over 700,000. Not quite. They're not quite understanding what you were talking about with that tweet. Rumor out there that someone filed, and also that rumor out there, someone filed a lawsuit against the federal institution on behalf of the owners of AMC and GME. I've heard this rumor. I haven't looked into it since, as you guys know, I was at the beach today. So if anybody wants to talk on those 2 points, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's just like I tweeted. Citadel sold about 80% of their shares in AMC. This was a few months ago, but they added to their calls and puts, and this is according to, I believe my source was Fintel, but yeah, no, it's exactly what it says. They dropped 80% of their shares and they added to their calls and puts, and so that's all there is to that.
That's perfect.
And do you know about the rumor of the lawsuit or something? I thought we squashed this. I thought this thing was over like a month ago. Like,
which lawsuit?
I don't know, something about I've seen it a few times on Twitter today. Filed a lawsuit against the federal institutions on behalf of AMC and GME.
The one from George Donahue?
I don't know. You guys are on Twitter more than I am today.
Hold on. I think
I
that's
don't
some
know.
bullshit that Charles Gasparino fucking said like last week or something.
Is it?
Yeah, he's a fucking shill.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, but I don't know. I just felt like I saw a little bit. So I can't speak on it too much, but I do know I saw.
Hold on
stuff
1 second. Let me see.
about it.
There was someone was claiming on Twitter as of September 7th that there was a lawsuit filed against the federal institution on behalf of AMC and GME. However, there was no lawsuit. It was an injunction, and it was just an cease and desist action. It doesn't. There's no lawsuit. Doesn't mean anything yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it doesn't
Guys,
seem
we
like it
can't.
wouldn't be a negative anything for AMC or GameStop anyway. Whatever this is,
Well,
it's
it
just
could.
shit. Not really. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I don't think so.
There is something that I read with oh god, I'm not even gonna bring up names here, but an instance where people were going to file a lawsuit. There's something about it that it could actually halt trading on a stock if something of manipulation or anything is brought up in a court of law. I'll have to find
That is
the
correct.
section
They're
of it.
investigating if they can continue and allow a stock to trade if there's illegal or manipulation involved. However, in my opinion, that's usually from when it's more of like insider trading. That would be like if they were to find that Ryan Cohen or Adam Aaron were done something, not that like some shitty third-party hedge fund was, illegally shorted. That's completely different. And a twist of words, if you ask me, that's probably being used by somebody who's short on these stocks.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only thing I found months ago
Me
about
too.
that.
There seems
So
to be no
hey,
merit there.
okay, cool. I'm not worried about them. Especially since it's not a non-issue at the moment. It's a cease and desist, he said. Is that what that filing was?
Marcel.
He died. He
My
fell
brother.
asleep on
I'm
us.
sorry, were you asking me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you were speaking. I was waiting for you to finish your sentence. My apologies.
Yeah, I was asking. So it's a non-issue.
Oh, I
Basically.
think it's a total non-issue. I think someone's trying to make a puff piece out of nothing, trying to scare investors.
Okay. I'm gonna bring Penny back up, see if she can actually ask her question now.
Yeah, that would be great. What's up, Unusual Whales, Bigums, everybody, JT?
Unusual Whales is in here.
Oh, what? What's
He is
good?
actually awake. Penny, what's your question, my darling? And I'm glad that your dog no longer smells like a skunk.
Oh my god,
That's wonderful.
no, he doesn't. You're oh girl, no, he doesn't smell like a skunk anymore. But I'm just gonna watch, you know.
Then I might have to move you down into the listener so we can just keep cycling through,
No,
or I'm gonna get confused on
please
who's
don't,
actually
please don't,
up.
please don't.
But Mike, right now it looks funny. Okay, hold on.
I will, you know. You have like, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people right now as listeners.
I'll leave it up to Jackson and Boss. That's your call.
Jackson.
Because it's their show.
Whatever, let's go. Who else has? If anybody else has a question, let's hear them because I know there's going to be some questions over here.
Oh yes, all right. I'm bringing up Wes.
I can roll one more blunt. I got one blunt left before I got to run to the gas station. So let's make this shit happen.
Sorry.
He's got to get a backwood real quick.
Anyways, Jackson, yeah, you know how I feel, bro. You know I've been rocking since way back in the day. BossBlunts, man, you're doing.
Wes, your mic's a little bit muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so you're doing a really cool angle to
we
this.
can hear you, but it sounds like you're a little bit.
Pull your mic away from your mouth.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm in the Congo canopy right now. It's a little difficult for reception. Yeah, so you're doing BossBlunts a really cool perspective to this. A really bird's eye view to the markets. I absolutely love it.
Wes, you're still doing it again.
I know.
Pull your mouth. Ooh.
It's all right. Let him finish. I can hear him a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it's just your phone.
I can hear him.
Anyways, I only have one question, and it's for Jackson. Nobody is selling what?
This thing, motherfucker.
That's right. So nobody is selling this thing. Okay. And that's all you need to know. I'm still in here. If anybody needs conviction, you guys can come to my inbox anytime. I'm always rocking. You know, unless my wife is having a baby or somebody I love is dying, I'm picking up. Let's go.
Yo.
You the man.
Wes has the best attitude ever, man.
I appreciate you, Wes. I'm so glad I could actually understand that.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll politely step back into the jungle canopy now.
All right.
Oh yeah, and I have AMC.
All right, Wes. I'm gonna bring you down. Let's see. We have. I think it was Chase. I'm losing track, guys. This is getting bad because we're getting
All
so
right,
many in now.
bring up two more. Fuck it.
All right.
Hello.
Hey Chase, what's going
Hey
on?
guys. Hey, such an honor to be on tonight with you guys. Thanks for having this. Just real quick, a little background on myself. I've been an investor in the markets for over 10 years, made some, lost some. However, when it came to, the GameStop, AMC, it's been a fantastic journey. Thank you, all you guys, for all your hard work you guys putting out there on social media. I just wanted to highlight something. You know how there was this discussion earlier about, oh, shorts this, shorts that, they can manipulate down, lawsuit this, and all of that. um so my I want to highlight this point. If the shorts are so in control of these stocks, then why, for example, are these stocks not trading at the prices they were back in, say, February when they hit, those lows? Like, for example, in GME, I kind of followed that price very closely. So it was $40, then the higher low was 116, and then it made a higher low at 132, then a higher low at 136.50, and then a higher low at 145.22. So if the shorts have this unlimited supply where they can short these stocks to oblivion, then I would have to give them an epic fail because they totally suck at it. Because the stocks are trending higher every time they put in a higher low. It's just a dip buying opportunity. So I mean, if not to mock them or anything, but I mean, if they're truly wizards or masters of the universe, then why are their algorithms not successful? So that's kind of, I just want to put that out there so that new investors can kind of be like, oh yeah, that's a point. I just want to make that point so others can
I
kind
have
of see that.
I have a very big point.
All right. Is anybody talking?
Penny was, but so is this space about to crash?
Maybe it seems okay right now.
I don't think it's about to crash. I think that, like, there's a lot of people who.
Kenna, could you move Chase and Penny down, please? His space isn't really laggy right now, so I'm sorry, guys. I will respond to Chase though and say thank you because you make a great point. Penny, I apologize, but we are really, really tight on this lag. Jackson's not able to hear people. He's texting me right now, so we have to move somebody down, two people down, and I'm going to delete some of this stuff up here so that it frees up some, memory here and reduces the lag on Twitter space so we can at least maybe have a couple more questions. But basically, Chase, you make a great point about this, about the market, and the algorithm doesn't drive the price. The price drives the algorithm. Okay. The algorithm does not control the price. It just tries to react to it. And they have, psychologists and professional mathematicians that work on these and, engineers that every single day, and that have programmed these things to account for retail buying and selling, but they never anticipated the apes to be part of the equation. The buy and hold mentality to their algorithm doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to them why we're not selling when the price dips. So that's why it's broken, and it's going to continue. And it's not going to be infinite. It's not infinite anymore because of the new Phase 5 requirements. The CAT system does not allow them to continue to create new synthetic shorts the way that they used to. They now have to be manually written. It's a very slow process, and they can't fucking keep up. That's why you're going to continue to see these prices creep up. That's why we're going to continue to get closer to the fucking mother of all short squeezes. We're going to see a nice bump up here real soon, I think, and you guys are going to be very happy. So we'll take it from there, see if anybody else has a question.
Yep. Jackson, are you able to hear everything?
Yeah, I am now.
Okay. That is so weird. Okay, so we can only do one person at a time up here. That is
I'm using a flip phone though, so I apologize. I'm using the Nokia 9700 from 2003.
Why you got the burner, bro?
I was gonna say it can't be. I have a brand new iPhone, so that's why it's like I'm trying to host this on something that's solid and stable. So
man, I'm on the PlayStation 1 right now, so I apologize.
That's fucking awesome. Fuck it. That's technology, man. I love it.
Hey, I mean, the most solid technology was back then. All right, I think it was DPS and then Natasha. If I'm wrong in that, I am so sorry. But all right, DPS, add a speaker, and then I'll go to Natasha. Oh, wait, Unusual Whales is up here. Hold on, DPS. Request again.
What up, Whale?
Hey, Whales, what's going on? Oh my goodness.
Be a fairly good time.
Talk.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Yo.
Did you have a voice changer on? What do you got for us, Whales?
He just wanted to come hang out up here.
He just wanted to hang out.
It's nice having a whale.
This is what you call method acting.
Just go with the flow.
So if well, if the flow crashes us, we know who to blame now. Oh god. All right, DPS, I'm bringing you back up. Jackson, let us know if you can't hear anything again, okay? Cool. Hey, DPS, what's going on?
Hey, Kenna, thanks for bringing me up. BossBlunts, I have a question for you, and it's related to something that you said during this space, and it's something that I hear kind of often, and I just wanted your take on it, or to clarify your take on it. So one of the isms or attitudes that I hear people say is shorts haven't covered, and I'm not selling until shorts have covered, or all shorts have covered. I believe that was the wording that you used. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of how shorting is kind of working in the wild is that shares are getting shorted kind of continuously by perma bear type people at all different price levels. So what you're saying that is it to be taken literally such that you wouldn't sell until all shorts have covered, or is it until the high volume shares that presumably were created to sort of bury the company down at $10 or whatever were shorted? Is there any way you could kind of clarify your thinking around that?
That's an excellent question that nobody's ever asked me before. Now, I will definitely sell before all shorts have covered, but I will never not sell all my shares. I will never sell all my shares, and I will always buy back in until almost all shorts have covered. When I say all, I say yes, the vast majority of them. Not every single one short has to cover for me to sell a share. I do, when numbers do get astronomically high, and as price ranges change, I will buy and sell options, call options, on AMC and GameStop. And I will buy and sell. I have not sold shares, but I will buy and add to my shares positions. All right. So and I will not sell many shares until I get into very, very high share prices. And I've got my price just like everybody else does. But the shorts will start to cover when the mother of all short squeeze happens. And you'll never know when every last one short has covered, but you will know when the vast, vast majority has, because it's going to be such a huge cascading effect through this market event, this black swan, whatever you want to call it, that they're going to have no choice to cover, because so many of the little funds are going to go out of business that it's going to cause the bigger funds to have to cover as well. And they're all going to be getting liquidated and having to buy back these positions. And it's going to cause an effect where they're not buying back because they want to. They're buying back because they're forced to buy back because they can no longer afford to stay in the position. So they now have to get out and try to, cut their losses at 70, 80, 90% losses so as to just not go under, or they'll go all the way underwater, and take, completely bankrupt the company, and be able to take bonuses at the end of it and cut everybody a nice little fat bonus check of, a few dozen $1,000,000, whatever the fuck they're doing, and walk away really nice and clean and say, sorry, investors, like, you're fucked, and open up a new hedge fund in 6 months. Like, they can do that kind of shit. But I will start to sell on the way up, and I will continue to sell on the way down, but I will also continue to buy throughout that whole process until the entire volume of the shorts, the vast majority of the shorts have actually covered. And I'm not just talking about the Ortex bullshit data, I'm talking about the actual synthetics that are out there, that we've seen in these ETFs, that we know exist in these BDRs. And maybe not every single BDR is a synthetic share, but they are out there and they exist for a reason, as are these ETFs and these companies like BTG Pactual, who are showing up on these, Bloomberg terminals. If these guys aren't there on accident, 1.2 million puts on Bloomberg terminals are not there. Multiple portfolios are not there on accident. That's 120 million shares that need to be bought back in GameStop just from 3 companies. So that just gives you a small idea that already exceeds the fucking float just from these 3 companies that are not really, invested too much in. And this was from a couple of months ago. It's going to be a continued change of pricing upward and downward, because it's not going to be straight up and next thing you know, we're at X amount, 6 digits. It's going to be a movement of extreme changes upwards, and then some more shorting downwards as some companies go bankrupt and get margin calls. Other of those companies will try to maintain their position or minimize their losses to an extent. So it's an ever-changing and flowing situation that isn't going to be bought back because they want to, but simply because they're either completely bankrupt or because they have to, because of the market liquidity conditions.
Yeah, thanks so much for answering my question. I did have a follow-up question, but you answered it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
really?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you kind of answered. I guess my follow-up question was, specifically just a yes or no. Do you think short interest will drop to 0% when they're still covering? And based on what you said, I think the answer to that question would be yes. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Actually, I think the question to that would be no. I don't think that short interest will ever get to 0 unless every last short company goes out of business, because most companies that are long in it are also short to a slight extent. Not everyone, but many of them. So we'll never see Ortex at 0%, and that's okay. That doesn't matter. But even if Ortex is at 1 or 2 or 3%, if I feel that there's still synthetics in the game, I'm not leaving, and I will be able to, use various instances of technical analysis, and you can look into the ETFs such as MSCI. Okay, and that is issued by BlackRock and X Trackers and all these other companies all around the world, Luxembourg, London, South America, the Cayman Islands, all around the world, literally, in Brazil, where they're using various tactics to short the stock. So it's not just in America; it's not just the SEC; it's the CFTC, the Commission's Futures and Trading Commission, who is complicit in the crimes that are happening with the over leveraging of these banks globally. And because of that, you can actually stay in the play a lot longer than people would think. And that's what makes these prices more astronomical than anybody thinks. And the possibility of $100,000 to $500,000 a share, or even $1 million a share for AMC or GameStop, could be very well possible.
Thank you.
Thanks, DPS, for coming up.
Sorry if I'm rambling.
No, you're perfectly fine. I'm gonna do some rapid fire with you guys real quick because my DMs are filling up faster than I can keep up. Okay, so first we have this one is for you, boss. This is an easy one. When is your next video coming out? Because D Cruz needs more yelling in the camera.
Fuck, I don't know. I always end up yelling at Gary Gensler in the camera, but probably tomorrow. Probably when the next U.S. Treasury, statement comes out showing that our government's about to default even sooner than we thought, sadly.
Right. Oh my goodness. No, and then we have, let's see, Ghost, that was that. Okay. Yes. Tomorrow we have a podcast. I think it's about stocks tomorrow, and we will cover the earnings report. That was a question for me.
Oh, I'm pumped for that. Is the BullHouse going to be covering the earnings report?
I can pop it up. I could, if you guys want me to pull a space up, 10 minutes before earnings comes out, we can hop in here and we can kind of live stream it if you guys want to.
Side note, real quick, subscribe to GameStop's YouTube channel. They have super low engagement, so subscribe to GameStop's YouTube channel.
That's a good one to do too. Yeah, I see those are the things I don't think about to say because it's just good job, Jackson. I love it. So this one comes from I'm gonna screw this one up. Wansa Su. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. And he tweeted it out to you. Synthetics are being hidden in other derivatives and being held by holding companies. Could that impact the rate at which the buying happens if it takes them time to sort out who owns what synthetics? Also, is there a point at which the synthetic shorts will be declared to have been covered? I know that sounds like it would have been an obvious answer, but if there's like 1,000 people who just want to hold on to 10 shares each, then 10,000 shares shouldn't have been covered. So at what point does the DTCC wrap it up and call it a day?
So the way I'll answer the first part at least. The way that I came to understand this is through Houston Wade. Houston Wade told me this is basically like a super tangled up ball of yarn, and the MOAS or the closing of short positions, it's going to take days to weeks because it's such a screwed up ball of yarn that has to be untangled, okay? Because they do, like that person just asked, they do have to sort out, okay, check out this share. Is that real? Who does this go to? All right, it goes to them. And then they have to check out this share. All right, is that synthetic? Okay, cool. We still have to close it out. So there is a sorting. It doesn't, obviously, humans aren't doing this one by one. It's a computer that's going to sort this out, the DTCC trading computers to be specific. So it will be a process, and that's why most people speculate the squeeze is going to happen over days, if not weeks. And that's another reason why people shouldn't be worried about missing it. I hear people talking about that a lot. I don't think you're going to miss it. I think this is going to take minimum 3 to 5 days, if not weeks, to fully play out. And then the second question was that about how will we know that they've fully covered? Is that what they were asking?
Give me 1 sec. Get back to it. I know it sounds. Let's see. Also, is there a point at which synthetic shorts will be declared to have been covered? And that actually ties into wireless apes is how knowing. Okay, so I guess we can do a 2-part on this exact thing. So, will we actually know? And is there a point when they'll be like, okay, the shorts are covered, period? So yeah.
So they're not going to make it easy. They're not going to come out with a news article right on the dot we have covered all of our shorts. No, they're going to make it as difficult as possible. They're going to make it as opaque as possible, and you're going to have to use your own reasoning, your logical reasoning, to find out at what stage are we at in the MOAS. And you can look at that many ways. I am simply just waiting until my number is called. You can do some TA, but in all honesty, I don't think it's really going to work. You can look at the short interest, but in all honesty, I don't think it's honest, for lack of a better word. No, I don't think they're going to come out and say we have covered all of our shorts. That they're going to make it as difficult as possible for you to read what's going on. But basically, you just have to have a strategy in mind, because they're not going to say, all right, that's it, we covered everything we needed to do and the game's over, because they already said that in January and it was a complete lie. So no, I don't think there is going to be a definitive point where you realize, all right, MOAS is over. It's not going to be as cut and dry as that. You just have to use your own reasoning as to what stage of the squeeze that we're in.
We appreciate that. Boss, you have something to add?
Just, yep, I agree. That's absolutely right. It's going to be a nice, long
I mean,
process.
yeah,
It will be.
I mean, they'll probably declare that they closed all their shorts like when they closed like 10% of them, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen here on the next channel up at, like, $58, $60. That's why you're going to seeing these people on Fox News and shit talking about $60 is a great selling point for AMC, how we could easily reach $60. They're doing the same thing they did before, and then they're going to claim that they closed out, and it's going to run up to 225. They're going to claim they closed out, and it's going to run up again another, couple 100%, and they're going to claim they closed out. That's going to continue to do that to too many of them get margin called or something crazy happens, like a government default on our debt or a government shutdown on October 1st.
Well, and if I can add in there too, guys. So, we talk about like the time length, people missing it. So we have to remember there are going to be circuit breakers. The natural circuit breaker of the stock market, the price goes up too fast. Guess what? It trips it. It stops it and halts the trading on that stock. You have to take these time frames into account too. And we brought it up last night actually that someone had or maybe it was a couple nights ago. It was like 8 days straight. If these stocks just ran, it'd take like 8 days to get to these peaks and everything. And that's, minimum, a minimum of 8 days. We're not talking, that's not dipping at all because it's going to have peaks and valleys because, the idea is that they have to buy and sell these stocks 8, 9, 10, 14, however many asinine times at this point. So there's going to be peaks and valleys. And no, I'm with Boss. You're not going to miss it. Like the only way you miss this, you miss the height of all of it, is if you were on a deserted island with no cell service. Like
Or on Robinhood.
that's literally how. Well, yeah.
Or on Robin. And you might miss the whole goddamn thing.
I mean, there's as everyone knows, I had to confess to TMI that he was right. That was my biggest, Jackson. I don't know if you got to hear a lot of that. I tried to back a company I was with for so many years. No, after them and Say Technology became a thing, I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm done. So, yeah, that's my public acknowledgement of admitting to TMI he was right.
No, I hear you.
Oh, that's a hard thing to do. All right, okay, so I'm gonna get Natasha up, and then Keith, I'm gonna bring you up. So, Natasha, and yes, I still have a bunch of DMs, but they came in after all these people. So.
Oh shit, Keith apologetic. Hell yeah.
Yes, he's next after Natasha. What's going on, Natasha?
Hi, thanks for having me up. I have a question regarding all of the updated regulations and things like that. The fact that they pushed back the SFT, or as like Marcel and I like to call it, the pawn shop, will they let the MOAS happen without that being in place? Like, isn't that the whole point, is so that it doesn't crash the entire market? And then like the CAT system and everything, like, is that doing anything? Like, what are we going to actually expect from all of these changes?
Yeah, so I can take the CAT system for sure. And AMC Bigums is a great resource. At AMC Bigums on Twitter, AMC Bigums on YouTube as well. He's a great resource talking about these. But the CAT system is a transition from the OATS. So it's the Consolidated Audit Trail. It will tag every transaction, and it will make sure that there is a share located when that transaction is being done. Because for so long, people would put in an order for 1,000 shares, and they wouldn't actually check if there were 1,000 shares, and so that's why we run into this issue of a boatload of synthetic shares that should never exist in the first place. So to answer your question, the CAT system, the likely results you'll see from that is just more transparency, and they won't be able to create 1 billion shares out of fucking nowhere. So that's what I hope will happen. And don't expect it to happen like right away. This might take like 2 or 3 weeks before you see actual results. But at the same time, I mean, if you look at Ortex, the short interest rose 8.5% on Friday. And so we could already be seeing some of the effects of the CAT system. So the CAT system is just transparency, and they're tagging each transactions, and it was desperately needed. The OATS was completely antiquated, and it's good riddance to that. I think BossBlunts can talk on the next one more, but I'll just briefly say NSCC 2021-010. I agree with you. I don't think that they would let the MOAS happen without this being in place. Therefore, that's why it was delayed. I think that's why it was delayed. I don't think they were ready for it. And so I think they have to have NSCC 10 in place before the MOAS to happen. But I'll pass the mic off to Marcel.
This is really interesting, and this is where everybody's got to think for themselves, because I completely agree and appreciate your opinion, Jackson, on that they need the NSCC 010 to be in place when the MOAS. I agree with your opinion of that, okay, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. And that's okay that we have opposing viewpoints, of course, and that's where everybody's got to decide for themselves as to what they believe. I believe that the SEC and these, these regulatory bodies purposely were influenced by the government, tinfoil hat if you want, but I believe that they were purposely influenced to push this into November so that the Federal Reserve or the United States Treasury, for example, would not be caught, or the SEC or the NSCC would not be caught holding a bag of trash securities and assets and government junk bonds that are worth nothing or negative value, or losing value like they currently are in China and Euro in the European market. So I think that these guys are very smart, and they understand that if they try to save the market in the way that they want to, they're going to end up practically bankrupting themselves or their ownership companies, which happen to be larger institutions like Vanguard and so on. These larger corporations who have that are also insurance companies, who are the ones that are insuring the NSCC and the DTCC and all these cats. So they've got a vested interest in letting the hedge funds and the banks, certain banks that are over leveraged, going underwater. They have a certain vested interest in letting them go bankrupt, in my opinion, in order to have them to kind of be able to throw them under the bus and use that money to pay off the ridiculous amounts of money that they're going to have to pay in AMC and GameStop. Because I do think still that it's going to occur and the MOAS is going to begin, but not end in September, when Congress is having these debt ceiling issues and the government shuts down on October 1st. I fully believe the government will shut down on October 1st. And we may not default on the debt, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to cause massive, massive stock market crashes. And it's going to cause the mother of all short squeaks to begin. And I do think it'll extend into October. And that's where everybody has their opinion and their own, viewpoint on the market, and we're all entitled to that. And I just wanted to say that I respect Jackson and Natasha's viewpoints on this too.
Definitely, real quick, dude. I love you and I respect you so much, and I hope you're right. I hope it's September where it kicks off. I hope it is. And my answer was just an educated guess, right? This whole game is speculation. But
100.
yeah, that alleyway is way more BossBlunts' territory than mine. And I hope he is right, and mine was just a guess that's why they delayed it. But now that I'm hearing, see, that's why it's so good to hear people's different viewpoints, because I gave you my answer because I got my DD from someone else, and now I'm hearing BossBlunts talk about it, and I'm weighing which one lines up with my viewpoint the most. And at the end of the day, you just have to make the best guess that you can, because we're talking about the future. We're not talking about things that have happened or that are happening. And so, Marcel, I hope you're right. So I don't know.
Exactly right. We have to
So
look at
guys,
it, kind of with a grain of salt, because we don't know what's going to happen. We can only speculate on it and then try to use that to our advantage. That's it.
and so you guys actually just demonstrated the exact thing that I love about creating BullHouse. the exact thing that I talk about, where you can come together, have different opinions, talk it out, figure it out, and find the truth, right? Like we can, I mean, we're not to that point yet. We haven't figured it out, the truth, but we're talking, right? I love it. It was like in real lifetime.
Yeah,
Like,
it's an awesome discussion. I'm so glad to be here with you
I
guys.
love it. You just totally made my night. This was awesome. Natasha, did we get all of your questions answered?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up. It was a great question, and we got great answers. So more information. I love it. All right, Keith, I'm bringing you up. I know you've been very patient. You guys have all been very patient, and I appreciate it so much. But I think this is the easiest way to do it so we don't all crash. So, Keith, what is going on?
I stopped in and seen Jackson Hunter and would like to say thank you, man. I started out with 3 shares of AMC back in June, and I've been trying to crack the algorithm code for 3 years now. And when I watched, I was skeptical because you know if you've been in the market for a long time, it's very rare that you see giant short squeezers like everybody's talking about. And so I bought 3 shares of AMC and I bought 3 shares of GME at $57. Well, GME drops down to 50 and I sold it. And I'm the kind of guy that I study all the time. And if you look through my library, to say I watch 50,000 videos would be an understatement. So I was like, well, what's really going on here? And then I pulled up your videos and you just gave me such conviction.
I appreciate you, Keith. You're the man, dog.
And, you know, at the beginning, everybody thought, oh, this guy is stupid. He's crazy. We've seen these codes before. He don't know what he's talking about. And then Astro gave me a platform and allowed me to speak. And I didn't know it at the time, but if anybody has watched it and you look at it and what the moderators were talking about, they was like, this guy's full of shit. And then I made their eyes pop out of their head when I started reading the code live right there on their live screen. And so he just let me go the whole day. And then I did it again today to prove to, and I'm wanting to prove to the whole world that this is a rigged system. How can a guy like me that's been working on a cell phone that has a cracked screen with AMC burnt in it sit there and tell you where the price is going to all day long before it ever even gets there? And see, if you may not like Astro and judge him by appearance, but if you take the time to listen to who this guy is when he tells you that, hey, at 11 years old, he started coding. When he was 14, he worked for a repair place. When he was 16 or whatever, he got an internship, and then they moved him to New York, and they gave him a job. Yeah, I watched every video the dude made. And then I started watching Trades, Keenan, all you guys, the Mask Guy, Wrench Capital. And I've learned so much from y'all, you guys, and it helped put more knowledge to my interpretation that I've been having of the codes over the last 3 years, and literally brought it to a head to where I see the pressure coming in. It's almost like playing a game of Texas Hold'em. I see the pressure coming in. I see it going out. I see them pause. I know what's going on. It's almost like I could see what's going on in the heads of the people that's putting them bids in and why they're holding that back. And then I'm able to call it out live. But it's guys like you that took time out of your day to learn and give me something to help build on. And the community has just been so outpouring to me that it's unreal.
Yeah,
glad to hear that, man.
If you guys don't know what he's talking about, watch one of Astro's recent videos, and it has to do with a possible messaging service that market makers are using with the order sizes on the level 2 data. And so I was, dude, I was out to dinner at like Friday or Saturday, probably Saturday night. I can't remember. And somebody DM me and they're like, yo, Jackson, you need to check this out. This guy Keith is calling this shit before it happens. And he's like, he's cracked the algo code. Like he was typing in all caps to me. And so I checked it out. And it was really riveting information. And like the fact that Keith was calling this stuff out live, and he was like, oh, it's going to 4370 next, and lo and behold, a couple of minutes later went to 4370. And so watch the video. It's on Astro's channel. I plugged it on one of my videos the other day, but Keith is an awesome human, and you know, that's the type of like Rain Man status stuff that I'm not always capable of doing. So my hat is off to you, Keith. It's remarkable.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate it. And it's like I said, you know, I'm not making my opinion up on anything. I'm sitting there. It's almost like me reading a book. I'm looking at it. I see what's getting ready to happen, and guy tells me I'm looking at this indicator, that indicator, and 20 different indicators I've already studied and told me, you know, kind of give me a little bit conviction. But when you listen to all these smart guys and they're telling you this indicator's proving it, it's going to blow up Tuesday a little bit. And then another guy tells you the same thing where you start thinking, hey, these guys are intelligent people, man. You better pay attention to them. And so that helped me give me conviction like for today when I called it out live. And especially like Friday, say, for example, I called the close on Friday. Um, Probably 40 minutes to an hour and a half before it closed. I said 44:10, and I think it's 44:08, and then the very first candle hit 10 after hours. But it was like today, you know, I could see it all coming up, and every once in a while, I can only see the top 30 bids and ask because I'm doing it all on a cell phone. I don't use a computer. I'm so comfortable with who I am and what I'm doing that I'm almost scared to change it, that I might lose something.
No, Keith, I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually enjoy using my cell phone a lot too for using graphs and charts. The only thing is, it's tough to see. You can definitely see the volume. It's just tougher to see the volume of actual numbers, so it's better to use it. It's easier for me to use the desktop. But yeah, the majority of the day I use my phone as well, and you can definitely see the way that the candles are moving every day. You can absolutely see how many times it's testing and retesting the same, you know, highs and lows and the resistance supports every single day. And yeah, I've seen your videos, and you know, I think you do a fantastic job of reading them and doing them. I don't know if it's something we could always predict, but I do think that you definitely do a great job of doing it when it's not a parabolic state like you've seen in the last couple of videos. You know, it has myself to make a good amount of money with, you know, options calls and stuff like that to increase the number I have. Doing the same thing that you're talking about. You know, you can definitely read the algorithm and kind of see if the channels, you know, rising and falling in the same sense. You can, you know, buy back in at a lower price. But I like to do it with options. Some people like to do it with shares, but I don't like to trade shares like that because I think it's bad for the stock. So I don't do it with shares. I only add to my share positions. But I absolutely love what you're doing. You know, keep it up, man. And thanks so much for coming. Please, I'd like to see more of what you're doing in the future.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Keith, for coming on. I'm going to have to check out your stuff because I actually have not seen it. So I will have to look into
You're
it.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. What do you guys say? Another 10 minutes or so? We can try to rapid fire.
I got
these?
one more question to me.
You got one more question in you. Okay. Well, I think we had one in YouTube. Actually, I'm gonna do this one because this is just me being selfish because it's for a staff member, and then it's just real quick though. How you came up with the numbers for selling, not numbers, but the logic behind it. I know that you could probably rattle that off real quick.
You talking to me? Shoot.
I'm talking to you.
Shoot, the numbers for selling, just based on the sheer numbers of synthetics alone, we've seen what has happened with other stocks out there in the past that hardly had any short interest percentage at all, let alone AMC and GameStop, which I believe to have, you know, hundreds, probably thousands of percents of the float actual sold over. I really feel that AMC, GameStop, both have had the float sold over 1,000 times plus. So that's why I think that when these margin calls happen, it's not going to be one. It's going to be hundreds and hundreds all at the same time. And these guys and their computers at the NSCC and the DTCC are going to be sifting through all this information, and the computer's just going to buy it the fuck back, and it doesn't matter what the price is. And they're all going to continue to happen because it's going to have a cascading effect. How can I have enough liquidity if the guy next to me doesn't, if all the other hedge funds and banks don't? When they're already over leveraged, 10 to 1, 21, or even 100 to 1 in crypto.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree with you on that. It's indisputable at this point. Like for me, it's a pattern, because I'm a pattern person. I love patterns. And it's just, you see how many shorts they have roughly, and then you can kind of equate into, all of the options, like these astronomical out of the money options, or even really far in the money options, and whether they're puts or calls or whatever. I mean, there's no reason why they should be having any kind of option place that's more than the float itself.
Absolutely.
Like that's
absolutely
asinine.
There's
So
over 50 ETFs, named MSCI that contain AMC and GameStop sold around the world. Over 53 ETFs that I've seen with my eyes that contain them. So what the fuck?
yeah, there was at one point, I haven't done it up lately, but at one point there was 21 that they shared, because GameStop was in like 80 something and AMC was in like 30 some odd or so, and they shared 21.
Yeah, the numbers
At one, I
you
don't
just
know.
got to do the research into it and realize that they're not doing this they're in clean cut ways. They're doing it ways to confuse people and to skirt around Dodd-Frank laws. That's why they're doing this internationally, and that's why these new regulations are also important.
All right. So I'm gonna have you both back on again at some point, because I have like 8 people requesting to ask questions. I think it was Big Grizzly was next. So if this is a Jackson question, we can keep going. If it's a Boss question, Boss will be done after this. All right. Hey, Big, what's going on?
Hello, everybody.
What up, Big?
What's good?
Yo.
I talked to Marcel a couple of times, but I've never talked to Jackson. Jackson, I just want to say, hey, thank you so much for what you've done. I started watching you back in I think it was around March. So I've been here for a little bit, and I just want to say thank you for your positivity, Marcel. Thank you for your honesty. Thank everybody for being in this shit. Fuck these hedge funds. Fuck all that other shit. Quick question. So when we were discussing this, like as a community a couple months back, someone said, or we came to the conclusion that they can't cover their shorts because you need real shares to close your positions. So it's like, if we hold them, the institutions hold them, how are they going to close out short positions? Don't they need real shares, or will they just be able to close out the synthetics?
Yeah, so a synthetic will be closed out in a very similar fashion as a real share will be closed out, as far as it being short sold. And by the way, thank you so much. It's my greatest pleasure to be able to speak to you guys with this type of following. I'm truly humbled, and I really appreciate you tuning in and even giving me the time of day. But a synthetic just it has to be closed in the same way that a legitimate share has to be closed. So all that means is, so say let's say I'm looking at my sparkling water. Say Good and Gather short hedge fund shorted AMC 1 million shares, and let's say they were all yeah. Now you guys know I shop at Target all the time. So let's say Good and Gather shorted AMC 1 million shares, and they were all naked. There was not a share to actually back it up. So those are synthetics, right? Good and Gather at some point has to buy back those 1 million shares. And guess whose hands those are in? Probably the apes. And so the apes will agree at the price at which they're going to sell it at. So synthetic, real, there's no real, you know, ambiguation between them. You know, there's no difference. They both have to be bought back. And how that happens is the short hedge fund that did it has to buy back the shares from retail owns most of the float. So it's probably going to be a retail shareholder, and they have to agree to the price of the transaction. But the only difference is a synthetic, after that happens, a synthetic just disintegrates into thin air from which it came from, right? It came from the ether. It came from fucking nowhere. So that's the only difference. A real share will stay in the system, right? It will stay in the float. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It was just like I thought they needed real shares to close their positions, but it's like I feel like, don't you feel like the price of the synthetics being bought back is just going to send it like in itself, not even real shares, just the synthetics themselves being bought back, and they're supposed to create actual buying pressure as well, right?
Yeah. So that's a matter of how many synthetics do you believe exist, right? Because nobody really knows for sure. Like Marcel, I believe it was short sold multiple times over. So obviously, there's a boatload of synthetics, and it would cause an immense buying pressure if they start to close those short positions. You're 100% correct. It's really just a matter of when, right? And no one knows, but it would create people that don't follow this stuff. Their jaws will drop when they see it on TV. The AMC is up 20,000% in the day. Their jaws will drop, but like us,
Yeah,
it
they're going to
won't
be
even.
calling us lucky.
Yeah.
They're
Like
going to be
we just
saying you're
fucking.
lucky.
Yeah, we just threw a dart at the dartboard and like happened to hit. No, like we've been doing research since forever. So, yeah, no, you're totally right. It just depends on how many synthetics do you believe that there are. You know, it's a fun little game to play. I think there's a fuckload. You know.
Hell yeah. That's all I got, man. Appreciate you. Everybody stay fucking frosty, baby.
Thank you.
Thanks, Big, for coming up. All right, I have one person left, and it was Eddie D that was next, and that will be it for the night, guys. And then we will try to bring them all back on again, because this has been epic. I mean, I've gotten so many different comments saying that this has been one of the best spaces. So, Jackson, Boss, you two are owning this tonight. Eddie, what's going on?
Not much, everybody. Thank you for having me on. This question goes real quick, and I thought Boss Blunt kind of touched about it a little bit before, and it's basically I'm just trying to see if you guys can help me understand how the people that shorted AMC back in the early days, when it was like $4 or $5, $10, have those shorts cover, and did they reposition their short positions at a higher price, or are some of the hedge funds are still shorted at $10 and they still holding those positions? Can somebody just help me understand that, please?
Jackson, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Eddie, that's another one where no one really knows. Okay, so it's possible that some of the people that started shorting at 4 or 5, or even it was $1.91 in January, and you better believe it, they were shorting it, and they've been shorting it since March of 2020, and even before that. That's why Roy and Kitty was putting up those videos in 2019, because he saw it. So you don't really like nobody's gonna come out and be like, we closed our short, unless they're lying. We closed our short position that we took at $4. So you don't really know. But the reason why I believe most shorts have not closed, like at least 95% or higher have still retained their short positions, is because they're doing all these nefarious tactics to generate liquidity to continue maintaining that short position. And people talk about margin calls all the time, and I think they're failing to realize margin calls are a pretty routine thing. It's just a regulatory body checking in on an institution to make sure they have the correct collateral. And the thing that people use interchangeably is a margin call default. That's when they actually don't meet the margin requirements and they're forced to liquidate their assets and they're forced to close their short. So until that happens, and that would create like incredible green movement. What, like the biggest?
Huge.
Yeah, like incredible. And like I
Like
think the biggest day we've
huge.
had, I think the biggest day we've had was like 100% in one day, like in June or whatever. It would make that look so minuscule. So that's how I judge it. I judge it on price action, and for the magnitude of shorts that I believe are on AMC, for even some of those to cover, AMC would be in triple, maybe quadruple digits already. But
Fuck
but to
yeah.
answer your question, it's not so straightforward, and that's part of why everybody is asking the regulatory bodies to add transparency, because there isn't transparency. And it's like, well, why do you have to disclose all your long positions but you don't have to disclose all your shorts? And how come you're marking your shorts as long? Like, it's completely deceptive,
It's not just
so
deceptive, it's fucking felony. It's a felony to cook the books, to mark shorts as long. That's a federal crime. These guys are literally fucking criminals. For example, the owners of BTG Pactual, two of the fucking CEOs, have both been arrested and convicted. One in Italy for the biggest insider trading scheme in the history of Italy, and the other one in France for the biggest insider trading scheme, guess where? In the history of France. These are the two motherfuckers that own those 22,000 so puts that equal 220,000 shares of GameStop that need to be bought back on the Bloomberg terminal that Bloomberg called a glitch. The $25,000 a year program does not show glitches.
You guys make a lot of sense. I appreciate all the honesties you guys bring, because I'm thinking it's like I don't even need to worry about whether they cover those old positions. They're still in deep shit. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely, because they would have had to, roll over or delta hedge against them. None of them have been closed out. So they've hedged against some of those positions, but that doesn't mean that they're in any better position off than they were when this started. Things are just getting worse and worse for them, and they can't dig themselves out. That's the problem. They're just going to continue going until they're completely bankrupt. They have no choice. Somebody who's making $50-60 million a year isn't just going to roll over for us. All these guys are going to keep going. I'm sorry, I said a year. I meant per month. These guys like Kenny G, who makes $50 million a month, he's not just going to roll over for us. He's going to keep going until he's completely liquidated while he's trying to pilfer money out of the country. That's what these guys do, and then pay themselves bonuses out at the end and start up a new hedge fund in 6 months. But you're absolutely right. They haven't covered. They haven't closed out. Very, very few of them have just delta hedged and bought calls and puts to hedge against their losses. You're right.
And here's a hint, by the way. Once the bots leave YouTube, you'll know that it's probably over at that point.
That makes sense, Jackson. Thank you guys very much.
Eddie, for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Eddie, for coming up here. Jackson and Boss, we're gonna call it a night because it is 1 o'clock in the morning my time.
Cool.
But I appreciate you guys doing the first takeover. I couldn't have imagined our starting this little segment, our weekly segment, off any different. Like, it's just been completely epic. But I do want both of you back on, or we gotta figure out a collaboration on this again, because I still have so many questions. I don't know if I should just DM them to you or something, to where we can get these answered, or figure out something. But yeah, I definitely appreciate it. And everyone that's come up here, I mean, I think the last time I checked, at one point we hit 500 people in this space tonight, guys, which is completely epic. I think we hit about 30 or 50 on YouTube, but everyone kind of comes on Twitter to just kind of hear it live, which is what I love about how we do our podcast, is with a live audience where you guys can come and interact with whoever's up here talking or in their Discord talking, because that kind of gives that the little special niche, right? That little special, I don't know, feeling, I guess, because it's, and these are all recorded live. I don't edit these at all unless there's some kind of like confidential information that needs to be edited out or something around those times. But other than that, there's nothing ever clipped. There's nothing ever, dubbed over. There's nothing. No, what you hear live tonight is what you'll hear on the VOD that will be up on YouTube. But thank you again, Jackson and Boss. The takeover was amazing.
It has
Oh,
been
thank
my
you so
pleasure.
much.
Dude, you
Yeah,
guys are
same
awesome.
here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. Kenna and Jackson, thank you both. You guys are incredible. Kenna, what an incredible host. This has been so much fun. Jackson, man, I love you, bro. This is always fun. Can't wait to do this again. We'll do a part 2 again soon and get to the other questions, hopefully.
I love you too, man. Kenna, thank you so much. JT, Vibin, Shango, FinTwit, First Strike, my man, Nene, OG, everybody listening in. Thank you so much. You could have been anywhere else in the world right now, and you are here listening to my stupid ass. So thank you, Kenna. You're the best.
The humble Jackson Hunter, everybody.
Oh, right? That's what I was going to say. So, all right, guys, that's it for